I welcome everybody this morning for this webinar on Agribiz series. We are having a series of agribusiness webinars for a long period of time, and today we are looking at agribusiness and emerging opportunities in manufacturing, production, trade, and finance. And then we have a lot of intellectuals in this webinar that will talk on so many topics we have today. My name is Orie Van. I am the research specialist for Nataf & David Consulting, and also the CEO for Nataf & David Consulting. Just make a little introduction of Nataf & David Consulting. We are consultants in Nigeria, and a leading consultant for that matter, providing solutions and expertise across a number of industries, including human and manpower development, operations, strategy, research, and business reengineering, amongst others. Like I said, today we have a couple of panelists that will be taking us through the topic I have mentioned earlier on. And I just want to introduce them one after the other. Here we have Mr. Goke Adeyemi. Mr. Goke Adeyemi, please, can you just wave your hand to us? Okay, you're welcome, sir. Mr. Goke Adeyemi is the Managing Director of Harvest Feed and Agro Processing Limited. And I'll just do a little introduction on his person. A little about his profile. Mr. Adeyemi holds a bachelor degree in food science and technology from the then Ogun State Polytechnic, Abeokuta in Nigeria. He joined Nigerian Breweries PLC as trainee brewer, and after 15 months intensive training at the Nigerian Breweries Technical Training Center, he emerged as the best trainee brewer, and thereafter posted to Lagos Brewery as shift brewer in 1987, where he worked in several production functions, quality functions, and quality control. He attended several trainings, both local and international, among which are African Management Education Graduate Program, Technical Learning Center, amongst others. He later worked as learning consultant, brewing and technology, where he trained new graduates, recruits into brewing, technology and engineering jobs, as well as retraining of existing experienced managers and staff. Mr. Adeyemi was later appointed head brewer in Kaduna plant of Nigerian Breweries between 2005 and 2007, after which he was later promoted to Heineken Group supply chain in Holland for 3 years. On his return to Nigeria in 2009, he was appointed the Nigerian Technical Controller for Nigerian Breweries PLC. In the year 2012, Mr. Adeyemi Goke was appointed the brewer manager at the Ibadan Brewery, a high senior management role where he restored the pace, performance, and pedigree of the brewery. In responding to the needs in Nigerian society and deploying his technical, managerial, and strategic operational experiences, Mr. Adeyemi Goke started the Harvest Feed Mill to manufacture feeds for his wife's poultry and for other small poultry farmers around the locality. He also ventured into soya bean processing for production of cake meal, as well as cassava starch production in his factory, which is now commissioned and has started production fully. So I welcome Mr. Adeyemi this morning, who is going to take us on one of the topics we have for this webinar. And also have other panelists. I have Mr. Derek Omole, FIMC CMC. Mr. Omole, I can see you. He holds an HND in accountancy from Lagos State Polytechnic. He also obtained a BSc Honors in economics from the University of Winneba, Ghana. He also holds MBA from University of Calabar and has attended several professional courses at the Enterprise Development Center of the Lagos Business School. He's currently now taking PhD in management in the University of UNICAF, UK. He's a fellow at the Institute of Strategic Human Capital. Mr. Omole has worked in several organizations, including Nigeria Breweries, Ogago Omole and Company, Chartered Accountants, Fidelity Bank, Bank PHB, now Bank Keystone Bank, Cutting Edge Group as Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Omole has developed passion for socio-economic development for Nigeria. So he developed an economic model called Economic, Industrial, and Technology Transformation Model. In order to drive his vision, in February 2010, he set up a team of technocrats to form an organization known as the SME Secretariat, Nigeria's premier SME agency. He single-handedly developed several economic policies as indicated below. I'll just read a few of them for time. Policy consultant to the Central Bank of Nigeria on Financial System Stability, FSS Vision 2020. Consultant to the Nigerian Stock Exchange on the enlistment of SMEs under the Alternate Security Exchange Market, ASEM. He launched a program called Roadmap to Nigeria's Economy Industrial Boom in partnership with Bank of Industry Nigeria. He served as one of the volunteer consultants to World Economic Forum and developed a policy paper titled Industrialization Strategy for the Implementation of World Economic Forum Agreements. He is also a member of Nigeria in Diaspora Organization, where he currently holds the position of technical advisor to NIDO, and has been at the position for a decade. He has led several trade and investment missions to Europe and America and still has more to accomplish in trade and investment for the benefit of Nigeria. He currently serves as the president of SME Secretariat, technical advisor of NIDO, and he's a contributing member of the organized private sector and the vice chairman, stroke CEO, Global Advent. Mr. Omole is a bridge builder, a selfless steward, focused, courageous, interventionist with a passion for the poor, a leader and professional, a detribalized Nigerian who has passion for several Nigerian cultures. Mr. Omole, you are welcome. Mr. Omole is going to take us on finance and trade when the time comes. You're welcome, Mr. Omole. I have here with us someone special from South Africa. Her name is Shene Naik. I hope I pronounced that very well. She's from South Africa. Yes, you're welcome, Shene. Shene has over the years developed into a human capital solutions partner for State Consulting and Copper Quell Global with expert experience working across Africa. Her area of specialties are within the agriculture and FMCG industries, where she leads a team of dedicated agricultural experts. As a professional headhunter and business consultant, her passion is grounded in adding value to the future employment and development of Africa. Shene holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the Passing Institute. Shene, you are welcome to this conversation this morning. When the time comes, she's going to make her presentation on the topic she's been given to do so. I also have another lady in our midst, Ife Adeniyi. Ife Adeniyi, are you around?
I'm here.
Okay, Ife Adeniyi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Ife Adeniyi Omolabake is a certified agribusiness supply chain consultant by the UNDP with an excellent credential: agribusiness, entrepreneurship, hotel management, civic leadership, administration, and youth engagement and development. She is an enterprise developer with experience in pig farming and agribusiness supplier development. Ife Oluwa is vast in project management for short startups. She has also established over 20 farms with virtually 40 animals at the starting point and professionally managed to grow the herds from 40 to 800 within a year and 3 months for her clients. Part of agribusiness is sales, marketing, processing, and packaging. She helps her clients in market linkages with contractual arrangements with pig merchants from the South and Southeast Nigeria, selling successfully an average of 5,000 kg of pig per month. She assists small farm holders who do not have that volume to process their pork into sausages and barbecue, thus increasing their net returns. Ife over the years has exceptional passion for agribusiness and has made her consult for several farms across the southwest part of Nigeria. She has over 4 videos on her YouTube page on pig farming with over 16,000 viewers to her credit. She has also featured on the Punch newspaper on federal government Rejuvenate Agric and appeared on NTA News 24 and NTA Ibadan to speak on pig farming. Ifoluwa spoke on From Passion to Business at the Business and Entrepreneurship Summit at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Ondo State. She's a graduate of a prestigious citadel of learning in Oyo State, Leeds City University, Ibadan, where she bagged a bachelor's degree in economics, completed an agribusiness supplier development program, ASDP, with the UNDP, and has obtained diplomas in ultimate career accelerator and career development from Shaw Academy, an online training platform. She's currently a managing consultant at First Indulgence International Service, Oshogbo, Osun State, Nigeria, an agribusiness consultancy services that specializes in farm startups and continuity, and also volunteers as the Osun State coordinator and head fundraising committee on the UNESCO endorsed SPELL and THRIALT, a literacy enhancement organization. She loves reading, traveling, listening, and solving hard problems. Miss Ife Adeni, you're welcome to this webinar this morning. I'm going to make introduction for Mr. Shehu Adeyemi when Mrs. Folashade is around. So I make that introduction for both of them. Then I'm going to call on my CEO, Mr. Kenneth Odushola Stevenson, who is the chairman and CEO of Natafam David Consulting and several other organizations. It's the least, but not the last. So I have a pleasure to introduce him, Mr. Kenneth Odushola Stevenson. He's a seasoned journalist, broadcaster, HR and HC and management expert. He's the CEO of a conglomerate comprising of Century 21 System, Inside Business Africa, Construction and Engineering Digest, CED Magazine, and Natafam David Consulting Limited, on which platform we also have other outfits, like the educational outfits. So I welcome you once again to this webinar. Without wasting our time, I'm inviting Mr. Stevenson Odushola to the platform before we start with the first speaker on this program. You're welcome, Mr. Stevenson.
My own is going to be a very short thing, just to actually appreciate all the speakers that are going to be talking to us today about this agribusiness and also the position of Nigeria and what have you. Now, we do understand that the COVID-19, which for me, I would like to refer to as an experience in the life of nations and human beings, we looked at every sector of the economy, from engineering, architecture, to also the food industry. But for today, our conversation is centered around agriculture. We're looking at production, manufacturing, and processing. What is important about today's conversation is the fact that, like a report recently released in this August by the, World Bank, which stated that for security hotspots in the agriculture, the fragile conflicts affected states where logistics and distributions are difficult, even without mobility, and social distancing. Contracts affected by multiple crises resulting from more frequent extreme weather events. For instance, in Nigeria today, we have major challenges where issues concerning maize, for instance, has become an issue because it's not even available, and the prices of poultry foods have also increased. So gradually we are beginning to see, and even today, it has been reported from some of us who are researchers that Nigeria is even almost in recession as we speak. But what is important is that we are not trying to say it, but it's obvious because what is supposed to drive the progress of the country, which is expected to be agriculture, it's not been, the attention is quite low. And also other sectors like oil and gas that always rely on, we all know what is going on globally today. So it is important that we continue to pay attention to agriculture, because where there is food, obviously there will be healthy human being. For us, I believe that when I come back later on at the end of this conversation, I will listen very carefully, and I will now come in and present some of my own, take as to how we can take advantage of the opportunities that this COVID-19 has presented. Like I said, all we want people to do is to thrive and also to succeed. And gradually, we're beginning to return to normalcy, especially when we have flights operating in Nigeria and the lockdown has been relaxed. But I can tell you the experience has been quite horrific, especially within the agri sector. Even though the agriculture was exempted from some of these lockdowns, in terms of operations and distribution and logistics. But I can tell you that some of the operators in this industry have been quite disturbed, and their own operation have been disrupted. But then life must go on. Today I will listen, and then I'll come back later to actually lend my own voice to what we can do to actually take advantage of the opportunity this industry presents. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to call on Mr. Sheun Adegoke. Mr. Sheun Adegoke, are you here? Mr. Sheun Adegoke? Okay, Mr. Sheun Adegoke is an agri-economist. He has the PhD in agri-economics, and he's the MD of SGL Farms. Mr. Adegoke is the MD of SGL Farms. Mr. Adegoke, please, is coming up to lead us through a conversation on what the challenges of agribusiness in Nigeria have been even before the pandemic. Let's talk of the challenges before the pandemic before we go into talking of the challenges we have during the pandemic. And also it's going to lead us into the impact the COVID-19 pandemic has on agribusiness in Nigeria generally. Look at the challenges on investors, food prices, security, distribution, and logistics. Mr. Adegoke, you're welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me, ma.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Actually, I have to apologize because I'm actually reaching you from the farm, so reception might be a little tricky. Thank you, everyone. My name is Sheun Adegoke, and I'm the managing director of SGL Farms. We're an agribusiness. On the topic I've been asked to discuss this morning, I think it's very important that we all know the issues agribusinesses are facing in Nigeria. Of course, it's a new invention. Some people refer to us as crowdfunding companies. Some call it agribusiness because basically the focus is on agriculture and, trying to ensure that we have sustained food production in Nigeria. Obviously, government, can't do so much for us. So there's a need for the private sector to also come in. Before the advent of COVID-19, which has been very serious, the major challenge I think we had was trust, with the general public. Investors want to be sure if they're putting their money in a company, what are the guarantees that they will get their money back. So trust has actually been the major issue that I can think of because, the Nigerian context doesn't exactly make it easy for us to trust ourselves as much as we would want to. So you need a lot of convincing, a lot of persuasion, a lot of explanations before you could actually win investors' trust. Because it simply means people have to part with their money and just hope that the company doesn't run away with their hard-earned money. So the trust has actually been the major issue. But I think the other major issue many agribusinesses have been having would be the business model. Because for us at SGL Farms, for example, we actually run our farms ourselves, whereas other companies actually outsource farming operations to smallholder farmers. And in that case, I wouldn't say any of these agribusinesses are, fraudulent, but I would attribute most of these issues that arise with the farmers they outsource to. Because, we know people generally, I wouldn't say Nigerians, it's easier to ask you to promise you heaven and earth when they need to get money from you. But immediately they get money from you in the, sense of going to plant on your behalf, then return the profit, you start having issues. You might not even be able to, hold them down to anything, because most of these farmers are actually probably farmers in the villages. So it's actually hard on a lot of agribusinesses that it affects the projection and the profit expectation. And, when you don't actually fulfill your bargain to the investors, then people tag you as being, someone fraudulent. So that has been the major issues we have. And I think, as time goes by, the growth, steady growth in the industry would definitely, help work on that. And of course, I don't believe in businesses generally outsourcing planting operations to farmers and just sitting down in Lagos or, comfort of the office in Abuja and making phone calls. No, I think it's very important that we are also on the field and get first-hand information of what is going on. Because ordinarily, I would not even advise anybody interested in farming to appoint someone as a front or maybe a manager and you just sit somewhere and be making phone calls. You need to actually be on ground to see how things are going on yourself. So those are some of the challenges, beforehand, trust and the business plan. Then I think, the other subtopic is what impact has COVID-19 pandemic has on agriculture in agribusiness in Nigeria generally. I think the major impact really has been the fact that, for example, at SGL Farms, we were meant to have an investment cycle to begin in February. So everything was set. We had already started. Then suddenly COVID-19 came and we had to shut everything down. Some of our other, competing companies rather, they were actually already planting their crops. Then suddenly COVID-19 came. Everybody had to pull out from the farm. Everybody had to be in isolation under lockdown. So a lot of crops got wasted. A lot of insurance claims, are pending. And this actually is a kind of experience that we never had in the world, because insurance companies were only insuring us based on the expectations of the output. For example, you're supposed to, because we focus on rice farming alone. So, for example, if we're expecting to make a ton of paddy rice from an acre of land, and because we were not there at the farm to, control weeds, apply the right fertilizers at the right time, then of course it affects the output. So ordinarily, insurance companies are supposed to pay up for the damages. But when it comes to COVID-19, it's totally a different grammar, something you can't really explain. It's just something in another realm entirely, because it's even till now I still cannot explain how the world would just go down. Even the powerful countries in the world, I was following up with events even outside Nigeria. People had, even myself, I had an experience where I have about 5 acres of my private tomato farm rotting away because I could not travel to the farm because I wasn't sure. And the funny thing on my own part was that I have a tomato farm in Oyo State. I had to, run down to hide in Ile-Ife, Osun State. So by the time I was planning to go back to Oko is just about 5 minutes drive to Ejibo. The very day I was planning to go was when I heard that there are some imported cases of COVID-19 from Ivory Coast into Ejibo. And I had to pass through Ejibo going to Oko. So ordinarily, when you hear like 25, I think about 20 something people testing positive, I just stayed back. And tomatoes would just get, start getting ripe and rotting away. But I had to, save my own life as well. So I think these are actually the major impact from my own perspective. But the only good thing was that, investors' funds were not in the tomato business. So those
Hello?
are the major, I hope everybody has a very nice time listening to me.
So you can continue, please. Yeah, continue.
Yes, I'm
Continue.
back.
Okay, continue.
Yes, actually, I was actually rounding off.
Okay.
So that's just all I have to say in the very short brief time. Reception here is a little terrible, but I think I was able to get one or two messages out.
Okay. We'll come back to him. We'll come back to him in a while.
All right.
I want to just
Thank
say
you.
something that if you have questions, please put your question on the box. Put your question on the box, on the chat box. We will come back. We will come to it when the time comes. Please, if you have a question, just put it on the chat box. We'll
Thank
come
you.
back. We'll come to
Thank
that.
you.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Shehu. Thank you so much. These are the things. These are some of the challenges we have over here. But we will soon get through all these challenges technically, as we are getting through challenges in agriculture also. So thank you so much. He mentioned the challenges of trust, business plan, farmers, the people that outsource them, that have farms that are outsourced. A lot of people don't have trust in investing in those farms, and that is a very huge challenge, because if there's no investment, you cannot really produce. You cannot really cultivate and produce, and a lot of people have problems with their business plans. These are some of the challenges he mentioned, and of course, during the pandemic, a lot of things were put on hold, especially the insurance. He mentioned about the insurance claims that were suspended, and then we know that during the pandemic, a lot of crops died with that. Some poultry from chicks died and all that. And then the insurance companies were not coming to their help. They were not coming to their aids, and that was also a challenge. And of course, transportation of goods were not easy to take to locations where they were supposed to be taken to. So thank you, Mr. Shehu. We'll still come back to you with some questions from what you have said when the time comes. Meanwhile, I'm going to call on Mr. Goke Adeyemi. Mr. Goke Adeyemi is going to take us on agribusiness sector in Nigeria, prospects and challenges. He will look at different prospects and challenges in Nigeria in different areas: production, storage facilities, and so on and so forth. Mr. Goke Adeyemi, you're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, all.
Good morning,
I'm happy
sir.
to be part of the conference today. My name is Goke Adeyemi. I'm the Chief Executive Officer, the Chairman of Harvest Feed and Agro Processing Limited. We are into cassava processing into starch. But my topic to discuss this morning is on agribusiness sector in Nigeria, prospects and challenges. Now let me start from this. There are two professions linked in that word, agribusiness. The agriculture and then business. They are two professions. However, I need to clarify that so many of our contemporary participants in agribusiness in Nigeria probably need to know the two properly. Not just the business aspect, but the agricultural aspect. But we find a lot that so many people only have one knowledge in the two, most especially the business aspect, especially those of us that are, well-read, these upcoming young guys and the rest of them. We think, okay, agriculture, I know the business aspect, but the agriculture aspect, you also need to know it. And one of the reasons for failure of several of such agribusiness in Nigeria is because of the lack of sufficient knowledge in that area. If I want to look at the prospects and the challenges, agriculture itself is resting on 5 pillars. And these pillars are very, very important. The first pillar is that it is food security. A country that is well versed in agriculture will not have anything to do with problem with food. They will always have food. Remove the issue of natural disasters, fire or drought or something, or flood, they will always have food. There is the issue of job creation. Of course, the first job people say is agriculture. So if agriculture is actually practiced properly, is a good pillar of agriculture is job. It creates job for people, several jobs. It's not just to farm alone. There is also the people that the logistics of farming, the research in farming, the services in farming. There are several aspects of even processing of farm products and the rest of them. There is marketing even from farm produce as it were. So you can create several jobs from agriculture. Poverty eradication. Of course, if you are doing agri and you are making money, there's no reason why you won't have some money. Why you have some money? You have money, evidently. Another pillar is on industrialization. If you are using tools, the tools that you are using, they are going to be manufactured by some economies. Even the produce you are getting from agriculture will have to be converted or maybe storage or converted. It is industrialization. So a highly industrial agri economy will have industries as it were. There's another one, wealth creation. Another pillar on which agriculture rests. It creates wealth, whether it is local or international. People talk about forex, you can earn forex on agri. Evidently, it's not just by selling the produce as it were. You can imagine that cocoa is sold by Africa, Ivory Coast, Ghana, in parts of Nigeria. They just sell cocoa to Europe and America, and they convert this, industrialize, convert this to chocolate and the rest of them, where we are making peanuts in terms of selling the raw material, they are making heavy amount of money, from chocolate and the rest of them. So you can create a lot of wealth, from agriculture. Now, what are the prospects? Let me start by giving the experience of my own organization. Like I said, we are into cassava processing into starch. As we know, Nigeria is the highest producer of cassava in the world. If I can quote the figure of the Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO), as far as I think 2016, Nigeria produced up to 57 million metric tons of cassava. The next countries are Brazil and the rest of them, Thailand, and they are far, far lower, than Nigeria. But don't forget, we are still at subsistence farming level. And that is the major challenge we have especially in cassava and many of agricultural produce in Nigeria. We are still doing agri at subsistence level. And that is as my previous speaker mentioned, smallholder farming. People who are having only 1 hectare, 1 acre, and the rest of them. Maybe even have chicken. Maybe if you are doing poultry, you have 1,000 birds, 1,500 birds, 3,000 birds, and the rest of them. These are subsistence level of farming. If you are going to convert agric into something that will be business now, then you have to go from subsistence to commercial farming. And commercial farming is a completely different ball game. One of the challenges that people are talking about maize now in Nigeria is that our maize farmers are basically subsistence farmers. The yield is low, as it were, maybe getting up to 2 to 3 tons per hectare is abysmally low. In other climes, you could get maize up to 8 tons per hectare, 12 tons per hectare, and then they cultivate several thousand hectares. I think you can only find that maybe in some parts of the north where you can see some hundreds of hectares of maize cultivation. In some parts of the south, you don't see them that much, So subsistence farming is actually mitigating in migrating to big business for agriculture. So our policymakers, even our policymakers also sometimes also go into these expanding subsistence farming. I mean, I sometimes also challenge our concept of sometimes we say the very good idea, by the way, that was created by the current CBN, the Anchor Borrowers Program. It was a very good idea. It was well thought out. It was a very good initiative. However, it is still addressing subsistence farming. When you are talking of 1 hectare per participant, it's rather too small, So for a processor like me, in my factory, I use cassava tubers for my 2 factories. I have 2 factories, up to 300 tons every day of tubers, And if you are going to be dealing with constituencies that grow only 1 hectare, and 1 hectare only produces about 20 tons or maybe 15 tons, then I have to go to 20 different farmers per day to mobilize the quantity of cassava tubers I need for my factory. This is almost impossible to do, But if one farmer has, say, 200 hectares, then I can collect all my 300 tons, from him every day, for example, for some number of days. So we are saying that we need to develop the concept of commercial farming. That's one aspect I think we need to look at. Then what about the infrastructure about in farming? Infrastructure in Nigeria, of course, the biggest infrastructure in farming is the land. Come on, we have land in Nigeria. We are blessed with land, good land, everywhere, either in the north, in the east, in the south, every part we are blessed, And in most of our lands, we can grow our food growth, whether it is cassava, it's maize, it's soya, it's rice. We can grow several things. So land is available. However, apart from the availability of land, there are also things that we need to have, with respect to the farm tools. Hoe and cutlasses are confined to the past, but we need now modern tools, They are available if you like, but they're not made in Nigeria. Again, if you talk about the tractors, the harvesters, the planters, and this, they are not made in Nigeria. We have few fabricators that are coming up with few things now, but they have not yet perfected it. It's still in the infant, in the infant stage of trying to use mechanized method, fabricated in Nigeria to do farming. We still have a long way to go in there, Then, if you talk about infrastructure, agriculture normally we do it in the rural areas, and these are areas where they lack amenities, as it were. So that is one of the problems why you cannot get young men, the young graduates. The demographic favors agriculture actually, because you have over 60% or 70% of Nigerians that are young, below age of 35. However, can they go to the farm to work? It's not. They cannot, because it's very rare to get them use their phones and the rest of them in the villages. My earlier speaker was telling us initially that look, network here will be something, and we saw it later that it was actually a challenge. And there are no lights. In the villages, there are no electricity. Is not there. Roads are poor. So these are militating against, or getting real down into doing agriculture and making big money from agriculture. For example, in my factories, agri-processing factories are situated mostly in the rural areas. Don't try to put them in the town. You cannot. You will. In fact, you create more problems for yourself by putting them in the cities. It's like putting this rice mill, for example, in Lagos, in the heart of Lagos, in Ikeja. I don't know how you are going to get the rice to Ikeja, from several parts of Nigeria, in tons, in metric tons, in thousands of tons, and the rest of them, or bringing a starch factory into starch factory into Lagos, into Ikeja. That is impossible. So you see them in the rural area. When you go to the rural area to situate them, there is no electricity there, so you have to use generators. Then generator will be fired by diesel or gas, and you can imagine the cost that you are going to be spending. In my factories, I run 1,000 kV, 1,000 kV generators. Every day, each of them will consume 2,000 liters of diesel. So every day I run 4,000 liters of diesel to run the two generators, 1,000 kV each. You can imagine that at 200 naira per liter of diesel, then to run the two lines, then I'll be spending 800,000 of diesel daily. It's not an easy thing at all. So it wipes away completely your profit. You are not careful, you just go under. So we need infrastructure. Then somebody talk about funding. But I'm not asking for funding, But what I know is that you may have to start with yourself. Even the banks in Nigeria, they are not supporting startups. Go to many of the banks, they either start up, they run it for when they know you are just starting, they run it for completely. That means how do you start? Even if you have a fund. So you have to start with maybe crowdfunding, or your friends give you money, or your family is able to raise the money for you, or things like that. So it's not easy to get the fund, So somehow I say personal funding as it were. Start your personal funding, and from there, maybe if you are lucky, you can be able to get somebody or smile bank to smile on you and give you some loan. At what, even at what rate? This before the COVID issue, we are still getting loans at 28% in Nigeria. So how do you turn 28% into a venture, that agribusiness venture that will give you profit? It's all. Although I can imagine that the current CBN regime, they are making some effort. We can see that, and we really encourage them to go further. However, it has not completely spiraled down. It has not really gotten down to everybody yet. Few people benefit from it. They have a lot of intervention funds. They have what we call the credit cards, loan, credit I've forgotten the full thing, which is 9% interest, but it's not everybody that got it. So many people didn't get it, as it were. We also have intervention funds based on this COVID thing, which are also good as it were. But like I said, it does not really go around. What about the people? We have people. We have population, over 200 million people. We have people that can do agree. We only need to motivate them. If you go around our cities and village everywhere, you see young men sitting down early in the morning. But we really need to do something to move them back to agriculture. And what that needs to do is infrastructure, make the tools available, and give them training. I don't talk about this training of 2 hours or 30 minutes training. No, it must be a training that will be in a combination of classroom as well as farm. Give them good training and let it be known that, look, you can make a living from this, and create the environment, the conditions for them to move to the farm and work. As I speak to you now, most of the farm hands that we have in most parts of Nigeria, they are not 100% Nigerians. It's a mixture of both Nigerians and some people from other parts of it. It's not supposed to be so. We have our young men that rather than riding Okada in the cities or all these things, they should go to the farm and motivate them, give them also sufficient, maybe a good salary, that can take them home and not just. So I think about people we have storage facility. There are no storage facilities, and this is because of the agri method that we are practicing. That's why storage facilities are not there. How do I mean? If you are in subsistence farming, then you can only grow something that you can eat, and little bit that you can take to small market, maybe 2 kilometers around you, and go and sell there. But if you are in commercial farming, you will definitely need storage facility. If you grow 2,000 hectares of maize, for example, and you are getting good yield, up to 6 tons per hectare, for example, we are talking about almost 12,000 tons in 3 months or 4 months. You will definitely need storage facility, But because we are not in commercial farming yet, all the silos that are built around in Nigeria by federal government or few state governments, they have to mobilize, some things and keep as what they call strategic green reserves, in case there are some challenges, they can pull something out. But in terms of the storage facilities that we need, of this so-called agribusiness in Nigeria, they are not there yet. But as we develop the agricultural aspect of the agribusiness itself, then the storage facilities will be coming up gradually, and we can begin to see some opportunities there. By and large, agri is big. Agribusiness is very, very big, and it can really do a lot for this country, if we go into agribusiness. I went to 2016 fully. I think it's not a bad story as it were. However, there are challenges, and I think those challenges can be met and can be mitigated, and then Nigeria can be a better place for it. Thank you very much, and I wish us a happy discussion.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful narration on the agribusiness in Nigeria, prospects, challenges, and all that. In fact, most of the things he mentioned that are actually the main thing, the real thing affecting agriculture in Nigeria is that, one, there are no infrastructures. No infrastructures, no enabling environment for farmers to work with. In some cases, we don't even have enough land to farm. In most cases, like he said, because a lot of farmers here in Nigeria are subsistence farmers, we don't give importance to storage. So we don't have storage facilities because we've not been engaged in commercial farming. So we want to thank Mr. Adeyemi for this for his presentation, and we are going to call him back during this discussion for further clarification in some issues. I want to repeat again, if you have questions, just type in the text box. Your questions will be handled. Now we are going into our product promotion section. We are going to our products promotion section, and our sponsors will take the lead first. They can talk about their product. I know there are people that are here in our midst that are looking forward to having opportunities to invest in farming. That is why they are attending this webinar. They are not farmers yet, but they are looking for such opportunities. And I know that the SGL farmers, the LGL farms, they are very much available around to talk about their business, their farming business, and how people can join and invest in that business. Mr. Goke also is here to help people that want to venture into farming on how they can do that. We also have the Nigerian Insurance and Agricultural Insurance Corporation here, who will also enlighten us on insurance and all that, and encourage even young people to go into farming and all that. So we are going to take a short break, and after the parade of sponsors, we are going to give opportunities to some of our sponsors to talk about their product and services. So can we go into the promotion of products? Okay, thank you so much for that brief introduction of our sponsors. I'm going to actually call on Mr. Shehu Adegoke. Mr. Shehu, I don't know if Yemisi is around for her to take us through your services. How do I buy 4 plots of land and get one free and invest and get return on investment with, like I said, trusting you that I'm going to get that? Because here you were talking about trust. If there's no trust, I mean, we are not in business. So how do we do that and get a return on investment after a number of months that is specified on your advert? Mr. Shehu, are you going to talk about that, or is YMC here to talk about it? Please unmute. Okay. Unmute Mr. Shehu, please. Okay. Right. So how does it work, and what does it? What are the things involved in it?
In agribusiness, what we do is because, like Amy said earlier, agriculture, to make sense, actually is a game of volume. If you're doing 1 acre, you don't make sense. Like, for example, now we are working on 1,000 acre farm production. Sorry, of rice production. And the reason is because the larger the farm, the cheaper it is. Simply put, if I'm buying, let's say, for example, a rice transplanter for maybe 500 naira, It might look expensive initially, but you can imagine the number of acres or hectares I can use that for, and for how long I can keep using it. Government has been saying so much about trying to help agric, but to be honest, government has just done 2%. The real concept and strength of agriculture is in mechanized farming. So it's a game of volume. So basically, when we have that large volume, it's easier to produce more, and then investors who bring up money on board for this will be able to get their returns on investment with ease. So basically, we are doing two things: providing job, and as well as trying to make sure that food becomes cheaper in Nigeria. Because if you produce more, obviously prices will come down. You can imagine that if you import currently maize from Brazil or the US, it's even cheaper than maize produced in Nigeria. Even after paying cost of freight, importing it down to Nigeria doesn't make sense. There's no explanation you could give me for imported corn to be cheaper than the ones produced in Nigeria. And the only simple truth is just because of technology over there. Our farmers have next to nothing when it comes to technology. So what we do is basically to include technology as our backbone, right from the planting, the nursery, the pre-germination. We use less humans, and we try to reduce costs and improve output. So basically, when investors come on board with the funds, all these funds are channeled. We are not actually selling plots like buying plots forever. But the concept of plots is just to make people understand, if you invest 10,000 naira onto a plot worth of rice farm. So that 10,000 naira includes the cost of leasing the land, the cost of clearing the land, the cost of nursery, the cost of planting, harvesting, fertilizers, and also buying seeds. So that's the concept. And then we've been able to bring down the cost because we are doing large volume. And that's how it works. So at the end of 6 months, the cycle takes 6 months because you need about 3 months to plant. You need to plan as well. You need to get things on board. Then we talk about selling the rice you've produced before you now return, profit to investors. And because we run our farms ourselves, we don't outsource, like I said earlier. We're able to monitor the process from the onset to the last phase. I've been in this village now for about 3 months. Yes, true, there has been no electricity here for 3 years. But we just have to do what we have to do and try to as much as make sure we create value for the investors.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I know that all of us listening here who are interested in farming, we heard that. And I want to say also that if you need the copy of this webinar meeting, just put your email address. You will get it so that you get the information you need and who to ask for investment and all that. So just put your email address on the chat box. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
I want to quickly ask Mr. Gokademi, please.
Yes, ma'am.
How will people invest in your own business? I see your rice. I see cassava production, the Venus cassava production and all that. I see a bean cake and all that. Do people actually invest in your own business, in your own farming, or you just produce and sell to the market? Mr. Goke, please.
Right. Like I said earlier, we are into starch production from cassava. Yeah. There are two elements to that. I am in the processing end of producing cassava tuber into cassava starch. If you look at investment now, again, I would recommend. Hello.
We are listening.
I would recommend that investors can go into the cassava tuber production from that angle. Because in processing, it's more of something that has a specialization, as it were. You really need to have a lot of knowledge in engineering, in manufacturing, in food, in hygiene, many things before you can go into processing. So that may be. But in terms of agri, the farming area, I think that is good. And I'll give you some information right now. Like I said before, cassava, Nigeria is the highest producer of cassava in the world. That means majority of our soil in Nigeria can withstand cassava production. It's also a drought produce. Can withstand extreme conditions. Little water, cassava will grow. As it were. It's unlike rice or unlike maize. It grows in many situations. However, in terms of yield, in the past, cassava yield have been very poor, even varieties. But thank God we have the IITA. They have done a lot of work, in the past maybe 10, 15 years, to improve the varieties, and then the yield has also improved. Right now, in the yield per hectare, you can get up to, as a very good rate, you can get up to 30, 35 tons per hectare. It's not yet very common. The one that's very common is between 20 and 25 tons per hectare. So, and again, cassava grows only in 1 year, especially the new varieties. 12 months, yeah, it's out of the ground. It can also be less than that, maybe between 10 and 12 months. So, for example, like I give you an example before that, in my own factories, we use 300 tons of tubers per day. As at this year, 2020, maybe because of COVID and others, cassava prices has gone as high as 40,000 right now per ton. Is really very high. Well, we don't categorize it as a premium product, as it were, but it shouldn't be as high as 40,000. In years past, 12,000, 13,000. In fact, as early as 2008, 7, 8, 9, it used to sell for 3,000 naira per hectare. I mean, per ton. But now it's over 40,000 naira per ton as of today, as I speak to you now. So with 300 tons per day, you need, if you are working like that in 30 days, you need 9,000 tons. If you are working like that in 1 year, you need about 110,000 metric tons of tubers. That you need about 6,000 hectares of land, to do that. And let me be frank with you. 6,000 hectares, and you are getting 20 tons per hectare, you will make an inflow of close to 2.4 billion naira in 1 year. And today, there are several industries that are using cassava, not only the starch producers. We have the ethanol producers using cassava. They produce ethanol from it. We have the flour, producers, cassava flour, etc. You have several industries that are coming up that use, because basically starch, So there is a big, I think, in terms of resource, in terms of return on investment, it's quite big. If you have the ability, to mobilize, not only the money, as it were, but also the energy and the commitment that it takes to produce cassava tubers. And there's really market for it. There, like I told you, there are three categories of food all over the world. You either use carbohydrates, whether it's protein or fat and oil. Carbohydrate basically is starch, or as it were, and that's what you have in cassava. That makes it a lot of ubiquitous in terms of use. Several industries use either starch or starch derivatives, in beverages, in sweeteners and the rest of them. So in adhesive, in chemicals, several types of places where you can use, carbohydrate-based products, in which cassava is one of them. So the interesting thing is that investors are welcome to grow cassava. If they grow it, you can contact me. I will buy, and I will process it. I believe in people working where their competence lies, rather than you doing several things, at the same time. You better focus on what you know best, so that the others can do what they can do. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's about it.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I can grow my cassava, and I bring for you to process into the starch. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm sure we heard about that. We'll get his contact. But there's a question. Somebody's asking Mr. Degoke and Mr. Goke and Mr. Goke and Mr. Degoke. Okay, Mr. Adeyemi and Mr. Degoke. Let me put it there, because the two names, there's Goke, there's Adeyemi. There's a question here. Somebody's asking about crowdfunding in Nigeria. When we're talking about when Mr. Shem was talking, he was talking of funding and trust and all that. The person is asking on the use of group or crowdfunding, bordering and troubling issues of trust. did you undertake and publish a pre-evaluation of your farm's yield and capacity? And if you did that, what reports were auditors and project evaluation reports state? What did they state? What did they state if you did that? So he goes on to say the online platform users in Nigeria are very juvenile and aware and aware will this outcome make for future growth of crowdfunding? So I don't know, both of you, can you take up that question?
Can you hear? Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, was
go
there
ahead,
any?
sir.
Okay, Mr. Sheung, yes.
Well, I think crowdfunding is a very good method. You know, it's quite good, and I encourage it too. You know, however, you have to start from the issue of trust. The people to grow on in this area in Nigeria. You have to go gradually to trust each other, and you have to earn it. You know, it's not just do it like that. You have to earn it. You know. For those who do it, after all, we have companies that are PLCs, you know, that are publicly quoted companies, you know.
Yeah.
They are formed almost like it's almost like crowdfunding. That people invest their money, and every year, you know, they declare the profits and whatever, and do what we call the annual general meeting and review the performance of the company. It is exactly the same thing that will happen doing the crop, either for agriculture or whatever we are doing. The only thing is you have to form it from the beginning. That in organization there are 3 stages. You know, you have the forming. You know, where people are coming together. You have the norms. When you have established the procedure, the system. You know, also you have what you call the one that people have to bring ideas together. You know, so once you form properly, you will have engender, you know, accountability in your formation, in your processes. You know, either it is monthly, either it is quarterly, either it's yearly. You know, where people can independent guys can look at your information, and look at what you are even doing, maybe visit the farm, or it's even better now. People can even look at the satellite. Satellite is available everywhere. You can look at your farm even from your phone, as it were. You know, that okay, oh, this is where my money is. That means how many hectares have they done and things like that. It's possible for us to do. So I think I encourage it, you know, but I want them to put, you know, all this in the plan, you know, when they are doing the crowdfunding, you know. And once it is done like that, people should also follow it. You know, if they put their money together for me, my business, you know, I have to be able to show a lot of transparency, you know, in what we do, you know, and allow very good system to run where they can have the trust, they can build the trust, send them information as it were, maybe on quarterly basis or more, like I said earlier, and this will make them trust you. And when it is time to declare profit, make sure you declare the correct profit and not hide things here and there. I think that for me is not a bad idea to grab. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. James Okon, I hope you are satisfied with that response. I don't know if you're still online, Mr. James Okon. You're satisfied with that? It's a good thing, and also we should be able to trust, you know, build trust. And I'm sure over the years they have been in business. I'm sure a lot of people have built, and a lot of people have testimonies of how they have worked with them and been successful and actually get their return on investment. Thank you so much, Mr. Demi and Mr. Sheung. I want to.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know, is Eve Green here? Mr. Peter of Eve Green? Is Mr. Peter of Eve Green here? Okay, Eve Green is not here yet. I want to call Shane. Shane Neck. Hello, Shane.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I want to ask Mr. Richard Wilson to give us an insight of what we actually do in South Africa in terms of agriculture. Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson from South Africa with Shane. Are you here?
He is in. He'll be speaking quite soon.
Okay. So Yeah, want to know
I
what your
think he's
organization
requesting
does.
to be unmuted.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, Mr. Wilson. Okay, yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Wilson.
Good
So
afternoon, everyone.
what
How's
does,
everyone?
good afternoon.
Okay, I can interject here quickly. Copper Quell and SCT Consulting are a human capital company. We specialize in the agricultural industry, and what we do is we link companies to the best talent and best skills and experience bases in the industry, therefore extracting efficiencies out of agricultural businesses, which leads to a higher production, lower cost of inputs, and subsequently profit for investment. If I could touch on what the doctor said earlier, I'm in complete agreement with him with regards to the effects of COVID-19. But one thing that it has highlighted is that it's very clear to us in the agribusiness sector that employing the right people right from the beginning will lend itself to profitability. One of the concerns that I agree that Nigeria faces is investor confidence. And I believe that using companies like Copper Quail and SET and attracting the right kind of talent to enter your organization will increase investor confidence and, logically make your business more efficient and provide the investors with the return on investment that they require. So this is definitely not a short-term plan, but it's definitely something that Copper Quail and SET are striving to achieve in Africa. Whilst we are applying ourselves within the scope of finding people to assist businesses in Africa in their development strategies, we also like to become strategic partners within those businesses and offer our inputs. For example, myself, I've got 15 years experience in the agri sector. I've actually grown up as a farm boy who is now a professional in the agri sector. And I mirror the sentiments that I think Nigeria has a hell of a lot of human capital that it could take advantage of, but those people that are going to need some kind of mentorship program, and they're going to have to be exposed to people that can pass the skill sets onto them. So what Copper Quail and SET do, in a nutshell, is we provide the link between experts in the agricultural field and companies that are looking to import those skills, whether it be for a mentorship program or actually just to place people into their businesses to make them more efficient and profit driven. That's I suppose all from me. If I could probably turn you over to Shanae, who's also got a few slides that you could possibly share to everyone on the group.
Okay, thank you so much. It's good to know that you have services cut across Africa, the whole Africa, so Nigerians can also leverage on that. We've heard what he said.
Correct.
They provide areas, they provide the skills required for companies in agriculture. So they source for these skills. So they are like middlemen. They are between the agricultural companies and skills, human skill, human resources. So they bring these competencies to the agricultural companies. Thank you so much, Mr. Richard Wilson. I think I've not seen the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation yet around. They are not yet here, but I'm sure they will still join us. Meanwhile, I want to thank everyone that contributed to this session, the product session. I don't know if there's anybody. I just have about, I still have about 2 minutes to go to throw up for anybody that wants to talk about his or her products on the platform. I can give that. Okay, let me call on Ife Adeyemi. Ife Adeyemi, please. Yes, so can you tell us about your services?
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Morning, yeah, we can hear you.
All right. My name is Ife Adeniyi, and I'm the managing consultant at Ife's Indulgence. So what we do is we do farm startups, especially for people in pig farming. We start up their farms, people that, our investors that have money that want to start up their farms, or people that are looking into coming into agriculture. So we do farm startups. What we do in farm startups for most of our clients is we start by writing them a business plan, and then we purchase the land for them. We also stock the farms with the breeder stock, we do the feed formulation, we do staff recruitment, and that's what we do in farm startups. In farm maintenance, we help farms that are not profitable. We come and diagnose what the problem is. Then we build, we do an improvement plan and we implement the improvement plan. Then we do diagnosis and, then we do follow up and monitoring to make sure that the farm is very, very profitable. What we also do is we also help companies manage their supply chain. What we do in the supply chain is making sure that every participant in the supply chain, from people that have to supply them the raw material for production, do on-time delivery. So what we do, we go to, and they also help them, establish an grower scheme. That's what we do in the agribusiness supply chain management. And we also do recruitment. We help in staff training, and that's what we do at the First Indulgence.
Okay, thank you so much for that, for the insight into your business, what you do. I'm sure people will get across to you to, to partner with you in this industry. Thank you so much. So, thank you for all that we have had during this session. That's the product session. People have an opportunity to talk about what they do and all that. So we're going to continue. And we are going to actually call on Ife Adeniyi to come up with her presentation on agribusiness opportunities in production. Agribusiness opportunity in production. Ife, please. So you can continue from where. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you.
All right. I also have good morning, everyone. I have some slides to share. I don't know.
Yeah, you can share your slides, please. You can share your slides.
Okay, so it's showing that only the host can share in this meeting. I don't think I've been enabled.
Okay, no, I'm going to ask them to give you access to that, please.
All right. So, just an introduction to what we're talking about. Okay, I've seen that. So we're talking about, we have a lot of opportunities in the agricultural production, and we were talking about the opportunities, we were talking about the potential of, what we have there. The global food production must increase by 70% by 2050 to meet our population. Then the annual cereal production must rise by 42%. The annual production must rise by over 100%. And of course, you can see the genetically modified GM corn, soybeans, and cotton have to rise. And then you can see, South Africa, even in Nigeria, cereals, rice, everything has to, because our population, we keep, can you see that? I can't see myself. Share contents. I can't see myself. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, done, I think. Please, can we see that? Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. African is at the height of a crisis and an opportunity. African population stands at 12 billion people, and 60% are below the age of 25. Yet most African youth are not employed. And according to World Bank, by 2035, 350 million new jobs will be needed. African's population is growing faster than the jobs that are created. And you can see how our export is between 35 billion and 40 billion worth of agricultural produce. Import between 45 billion and 50 billion worth of agricultural produce, as well as approximately 8 billion in food and agricultural products flows through, the regional trade. So when we have all these things, we have to start thinking of, okay, how will people participate? How will young people, how will they come, into, if we have these opportunities, if these opportunities are available, what we are doing is, most of what we are doing in production has to be improved upon. It has to, okay, yeah. So apart from have an acute lack. Okay, for it also has very few tractors available as an alternative source of power. Nobody, for someone like me, with my time in the agricultural sector, I've met very few young people because nobody wants to stay in that kind of condition. Really, there are no electricity. Most of the farm work is rudimentary. I don't think anybody would have gone through the university system and seen how life is. We actually want to leave all that and go to the farm. So these are the things that we actually have to address. And with COVID-19, you can see destruction in the agricultural sector, lot of disruption in the supply chain management. As Mr. Goke said, he could not go to the farm, and lot of farm produce were just wasting away. And these are actually, they are all opportunities that we can leverage on and see with what has happened. What is the next thing? What can be done? How do we move forward? How do we work at it? And in my own experience, in my years on the farm, what I realize is that once people are willing to work, once people are ready to work, they are able to provide solutions. Most of the things that we saw that were not working, now someone said there were no tractors. When you go into the villages, you see a lot of people coming up with one or two things, just being innovative about how they can make their farm life, easier. Most of the time, because we are not in the system, so the problems look like they are so big. There are things that we cannot handle, or things that are just beyond us. But the truth remains that once you go to the farm the first day, and then after you've gone through all the processes, and then you come back home being tired, when you go the next day and you try the same thing, by the third day you start thinking and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I want this result, so I have to create something. I have to do something to improve on these things. So I think for me, if you ask me, I'll say let's encourage people to actually go into agriculture. When we have more people that are educated, then they can provide solutions to some of the things, unlike not trying to get involved. Just it's too rudimentary. It's all we keep looking at the high cost of machineries, equipment. But when you get to the farm, you'll be so surprised at the things that people have come up with. You'll be so surprised that you know how do I also put this? Part of human makeup is something called adaptability. By the time you get to, you are in a situation, you look for a way of making it more compatible, of making it work out more. And like that, you see every day, there was a time everybody were complaining about government financing, funding, and all that. In a couple of years, we had a lot of people coming up with crowdfunding opportunities. And before you know it, nobody's waiting for one financial house to give them money, but individuals coming together to make sure that all these things are being financed. Initially, I was working on some projects, some film, like about 2 years ago, and we were trying to get some data on a business plan that we were working on the piggery plan, and we were so disappointed because we couldn't get so much. Today, from what we have done, we're able to make sure, okay, some of the things that we know, we're able to put them, we're able to put them across our farmers group. We have lots of WhatsApp groups that we have created to make sure that we all share information, unlike before where, there were no information. If you want to make business decision, you don't know what to do. Just to tell us that most of these opportunities, when it comes to production, most of the opportunities that are available sometimes will be when you're on the field, and then that, okay, this is it, we have the problem, then we have to look for a solution to it. So if someone is I'm trying to come into agriculture, I don't have money, I don't know, capital is really not the first thing, because we have a lot of we have a lot of missing links in the value chain, and that's something that we all have to step forward into. When we talk about farmers training, most of the farmers, they put their effort, they put all their energy, but most of them, they don't even know what they are doing. I remember when I started piggery, and what do you feed your animal? People will say, I give them PKC. The only thing I heard that pigs eat is PKC, and then they give them PKC and cassava peel, and then you see a 8-month-old pig just weighing about 35 kilos, and why they kept doing that was because they don't have the information. They know that they could have done better. So with information, just training the farmers, okay, give your animals a concentrated meal. By 5 months, they're up to 85 kilos. and they're looking at you like, did you perform magic? No, it's not magic. It's just, getting the right information, knowing the right things. Another thing is that people don't know that they can also they can control how they breed their animals, the kind of breeder stocks that they have available. They'll say, oh, I have one dwarf pig like this. I've been feeding it, but it's not growing. But what they do not know is that the genetic of the animal can actually influence the growth of the animal. So by giving them proper training, I'll telling them, okay, if you buy this, it might look expensive in the beginning, but in the long run, you're going to, just imagine there's this crazy thing. Someone that was feeding their draft animal pig, they were giving it, the feed conversion was about 12 kilos of feed. Imagine an animal eating 12 kg of feed to give you 1 kg of flesh. At the end of the whole day, maybe because they sell them at a buck, they think they were making so much profit, but they are not. Why with improved rate, we have some of them that will only eat 2.5 kilos of feed to give you 1 kg of flesh. So you can see, what training farmers, once you train farmers, how it can actually improve on productivity, how it can improve on profitability. The amazing thing is, once you know that your animal is going to see 2.5 kilos of feed to give you 1 kg of flesh, you know how much you're selling, a live pig per kg. You can work on how much you're going to spend on your feeding. So having the right information, having the right trainings, these are actually opportunities in production. And why I'm putting all this together is just because when it comes to production, everything that makes production effective are actually the opportunities in agriculture. Of course, then there is accurate weather forecast and soil testing. For me, because I'm not a soil farmer, if I can use that word, I'm a pig farmer. But having an idea of what the temperature is going to look like in a day can actually help you, the way you structure how you're going to feed your animals. Because once it's too hot, the animals want to sleep, they are not going to eat so much. So when you know that you're going to have hotter days, you can decide to tell your farm staff to wake up earlier to feed the animals so that they can eat better. They will just sleep off in the afternoon, then you can do a lot of wetting. So once you have an understanding of how things work, it actually helps improve production, really. And also better breeding technology like AI and breeding techniques. What we have done in the past is that we have imported some breeds from South Africa and the UK into Nigeria, and over time the problem is the high cost of bringing those animals in. Then over time, what actually happens is that there'll be the same breeding stock that has been in system for a long time, in circulation for a long time, and before you know it, there are a lot of breeding problems, inbreeding, and all that. So by artificial insemination, we can actually import just semen, which will be cheaper to the cost of importing animals in. These are all opportunities in production that people can take good advantage of. And of course, cheaper farm machineries and equipment. In piggery, most intensive farms in advanced country, they use what we call farrowing crates, gestational crates, automatic feeders, and all that. In Nigeria, because the costs are high, once it's imported, the costs are high. But we can see opportunities in an area whereby people start building those things, they are fabricating it locally. So, and they are able to make some income, work on their marketing strategies, and are able to reach more farmers. And of course, innovative farm equipment, same thing, is linked to what I just said right now. I can show you some pictures of the automated feeders. I thought I put it on this slide, but it's not there, so I might have to share later. So you can see some of them, working on, the thing about, if you have to ask me sincerely, most of the opportunities, especially for people that want to be in the industry or they are passionate about farming, they have to come to the farms. They are not going to get it by sitting, in their offices, on their laptops, in the internet. When you go and interact with the farmers, you'll be so surprised. Everybody thinks that a farmer is probably dumb because they are illiterate. When you go and interact with them, you would have seen what they have improved on, and then the areas that we can all collaborate and work together to make sure the farming is more productive. Also, the logistics and cold chain management. Like now in the piggery industry, we have people that come from south to come and buy live pigs in the southwest weekly, and you see people buying about 40 tons of pigs. When I say 40 tons of pigs, just divide that, that's 40,000 divided by 80 kilos. You can see the number of trucks that they have to move. I keep asking questions like, why can't we slaughter the pigs for you, and then we send them over to you? Don't have to, of course. And when they go through all this type of transportation method, they would have lost some of them from trampling. They would have lost time, from the weather. Most times they have to move the pigs in the morning to make sure that they don't die. So if we can slaughter them and send the carcass to them, it's for the end gain is for the customers to eat it. So if that's the end result, why not work on the cold chain logistics? And these are all opportunities for people that are interested in the value chain to come into. Over 80% of the pork of the sausages consumed in Nigeria are imported. These are realistic figures. And we will still have people that are importing pork. We have the land, we have the building, we have the temperature is good because to an extent you can manage it. And the pigs are doing well in 6 months, 5 months, 6 months with good breeds. We have animals that are doing between 60 kilos to about 85 kilos. So these are all opportunities that we can actually all tap into. And then when we now move to other things like when we move to other aspect of agriculture like organic farming, vertical farming, the cocoa pits, lot of things that we can produce on our own just by knowing what we have to do. So yes, by disseminating information, someone that can truly be interested by dissemination information and telling people this is what they have to do, we can see more people that will come into the industry and then help us to solve some of these problems that seems like mountains, but really they are not, because once we are able to leave our comfort zone and then we'll plunge ourselves into these things, we will be able to make we'll be able to make good use of this opportunity. So I think this is my final slide, and I just put a note there. I said I strongly believe that the best way to take advantage of the opportunities in production is to always evaluate performance. That's very, very important, because the more you look at it, even though you can do better, I'm sure we can, even though you can do better, then we improve on our practices, we improve on the things we know. We'll be frustrated with disappointment, or we'll be frustrated with shortfalls. Then we get information from other farming economies and tailor them to our own peculiarities. So that's the end of my slide. I hope we were able to learn one or two things. Thanks for listening, and I'm done.
Thank you so much, Ifolua, for this brief but very informative presentation this morning. And some of the things we got from her is that for us to be effective in our production, there are a lot of things to take into consideration, such as accurate weather, better breeding technology, innovative farm equipment that can even be produced locally in Nigeria, not actually importing them from overseas, which will raise the cost of both the materials and importation, which will also be raise also the cost of the production, the food produced at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Ifolua, for that talk. I'm going forward also to call on Mr. Omole, Derek Omole. Mr. Omole, Derek Omole, please. Please, can you unmute Derek Omole? Derek Omole is going to talk to us on unlocking production and investment opportunities across Nigeria's agribusiness and value chain. And also, he's going to get us into the available funds. There are funds in Nigeria one can access. And also, he will also speak on international trade challenges and opportunities.
Good morning, all.
Okay, good morning.
It has indeed been a very fruitful discussion. I certainly, commend, other panelists who have been able to bring innovative ideas, especially the last panelist is very much commendable. Temitope did very well. Her brainstormed ideas on innovative processing indeed is key and fundamental. Like you had earlier introduced, I'm Derek Amole, and I have developed an economic model called Economic, Industrial, and Technology Transformation Model. The model seeks to achieve private sector bailout, government budget financing, and massive industrial intervention. Now, why are we connecting, this kind of economic model to the business of agriculture? Yes, it's very fundamental. But before I go into details, let us quickly look at some of the major highlights of the news as at yesterday. As at yesterday, Punch newspaper said in one of the pages, Nigeria borrowed 5,000 metric tons of grains from ECOWAS, federal government. Another one says 78,000, that's Guardian newspaper says 78,120 farmers abandoned food production in Borno, Taraba. Now, there's another news about our national demand of fresh tomatoes stands at perhaps 1.6 to 2 million tons and more, but local output not more than 30 or 50%. So these news are worrying in our minds and make every Nigerian to think that how come we have so much of arable land, but we are not able to produce, we are not able to process. These are serious minded issues. I have a study which I will share with you, but before I do that, let me share my personal experience with you when it comes to raising funding for agriculture. Now, just recently, we have a team of friends and experts who had come up with a model called the One Africa farm, and the focus of that farm was to import greenhouse technology, a special type that will work for the tropics anyway. I mean, I am aware that some people had imported greenhouse technology and failed because it was the wrong one that did not fit. Now, we had made this arrangement from Jordan to import this technology because we already have our own land in Ogun State. Total size of land, 28 hectares with C of O. So you may be wondering, how come you have challenges funding your agric farm when you already have a large asset up to 28 hectares of land? Now let me tell you the story. What we did essentially is we needed about $4 million, maybe almost about 2 billion naira to finance this project. And of course, as financial experts, we had discussed with our international partners, and they had given us the offer, $4 million. And we took the local bank, please give us a guarantee, take our land as asset, as collateral, and then provide some kind of, bank guarantee to our international partners. 1 month, 2 months, they are not able to raise these bank guarantees. So these are critical challenges that affect our local market. Of course, we also know the reasons why they're not able to raise bank guarantees, fluctuations of, exchange rate systems and other issues that affect our economy. Let me now take you through a slide presentation. So I hope I will be able to to share my own screen, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please let him share his screen.
Just a moment. Okay, so let me assume you can see this now. And then the topic here essentially is unlocking productivity and investment opportunities across Nigeria's agribusiness value chain. Yeah, it's an academic study, but even if it's an academic study, it's actually done by PwC, one of the international, research and audit companies. The overview essentially focuses on one overview of the agri sector, industry challenges and suggested solutions toward the $1 trillion African food market in Africa by 2030, unlocking productivity through technology, unlocking productivity through finance, investment opportunities, Nigeria's agribusiness, then policy reforms in the agricultural sector. Okay, now, if we have a look at a little bit at history and check, the food imports bill that Nigeria has actually experienced within the last 2 or 3 years, starting from 2018, it stood at 1.4 trillion naira. That's a whole lot of money. I mean, sometimes when you hear these figures, you say, wow, we wish there could be a spread within the local market. And then also, this represents actually a 1.3 trillion deficit because somehow we're able to do an export of 302 million. You can imagine, the vastness of loss of opportunities. Now let's talk a little bit about the kind of things that we have in terms of production. Because we're talking about productivity. So we have livestock, forestry, fishery, and crop production. Indeed, crop production has taken about 88% of how much we can do, and then livestock about 8%. We have fishing about 3%, and we have 1% in forestry. Now, the reason we are talking about these opportunities or these figures is for us to see the invisible opportunities therein, so that we can begin to think of which of these value chain in which we can operate. Now, let's quickly examine crop production. It accounts for about 80% of the total agric production. However, land usage is very small, which limits crop output levels. And over time, in 2017, the report here says that cassava actually was the highest. And I'm happy that one of the panelists had discussed extensively on cassava, so I don't need to talk about the potential anymore. When you also talk about exports, top 5 export agric products have been cocoa beans, sesame seed, cashew nuts, cocoa butter, fat oil, and then other frozen shrimps and prawns. Yes. Then we talk about top 5 agricultural imports. Yeah, we have wheat, we have whole fish frozen, we have sugarcane, we have milk, cream products, then we have flour, starch, malt extracts. So these are, a little bit of resegmentation of the impact of our imports and export analysis. Now let's see how well we are faring as within Africa. Looking at some peculiar products. Now, if we start from cassava essentially in Nigeria is the largest producer within Africa. From the report I have here from the PricewaterhouseCoopers, we produced 59.4 million tons of cassava in 2017 alone. You see, in looking at comparison, we have Democratic Republic of Congo, which is the second largest producer, and produced 31 million tons of cassava. We also look at Thailand, and they also produce 30.8 million tons of cassava. Let's take another product, yam. Yes, we enjoy eating yam, and even today we have what we call yamarita and all sorts of yam products. Now let's see how well we are doing when it comes to yam. Yam, Nigeria again is the largest producer within the African sphere, and produced 47.9 million tons of yams in 2017. The second largest producer is Ghana. Yes, Ghana, one of our neighbors, but I wonder why they are quarreling with us. I know those issues will be resolved. Now, the second largest producer, we have, they produced 7.9 million tons of yams in 2017. And then we also have the third largest producer, Cote d'Ivoire. They produced 7.1 million tons of yams in 2017. Let's look at maize, which apparently, a few panelists had mentioned, and I also mentioned the breaking news about maize. Now, the largest producer of maize around the world is United States of America. They produced 397.6 million tons of maize in 2017. China is the second largest producer, and you have they produced 259.2 million tons of maize in 2017. And Nigeria is the 15th largest producer, producing 10.42 million tons of maize in 2017. I'm also happy that within this forum now we have some rice producers. Let us see our performance of rice in the global value chain of production. China is coming to be the number one, and they are producing 214.43 million tons of rice in 2017. India is the second largest producer, producing 168.5 million tons of rice in 2017. And then we also have Nigeria, the 14th largest producer, produced 9.8 million tons of rice in 2017. Apparently, the competition for local production of rice is indeed increasing. I think yesterday or so, I saw on television one of the companies trying to come up with a pre-launch of a very big rice mill, something immortal. I cannot remember particularly, but I saw it live on NTA TV news. Now, another product that will interest you is oil palm. Where are we in oil palm? Looking at the global, production and output, Indonesia is the largest producer and produced 114.6 million tons of oil palm in 2017. Malaysia, the second largest producer, produced 101.7 million tons of oil palm in 2017. And Nigeria, the fourth largest producer, produced 7.7 million tons of oil palm in 2017. Now, you can begin to imagine Nigeria's position. The reality is that, the output we are seeing from Nigeria here is just a little bit of what we can do. The potential is bigger than what we are currently doing, as we can see from, the study of the opportunities that we had earlier brought out. Now, let's talk a little bit about industry challenges and some suggested solutions, because I don't really like talking about challenges, but somehow in the course of doing a discourse of criticality, it's important that you talk about the challenges and then you talk about the suggested solutions. And I'm also happy and very much delighted that some of the panelists had brought up some solutions which I have taken notes. And of course, like I said in my opening speech, the economic, industrial, and technology transformation model seeks to bring innovation to support critical sectors like agriculture, power, oil and gas, and so many other sectors. Now, let's take a few of the agricultural industry issues and challenges. In Nigeria, more attention is channeled toward primary production and little to manufacturing into finished goods, creating a poor value chain. And I'll share my experience with you. In the course of setting up the farm, which I mentioned to you, the One Africa farm, and then some of the problem questions or statement of the problem that arose was that your production will not even be sufficient to manufacture. Because I made a case, I said, okay, when we produce, why don't we also manufacture? Or in terms of process, and you come up with cans and what have you. He said, my dear brother, if you do that, you will not even have enough of the feedstock to put into your machine to produce what you need to produce. So why will you go into production? And even told me that, okay, if you have these products in terms of, the raw products of tomatoes or what have you, Dangote is ready to buy everything from me. So there's a large market already. We are talking about agricultural industry issues and challenges. And then I mentioned the challenge of the fact that in Nigeria, more attention is channeled toward primary production and little to manufacturing into finished goods, creating a poor value chain. Other problems have been mentioned already: the use of hose and cutlasses, the inadequate facilities, such as good road and good water, is crippling the agricultural sector. And I'll share my experience with you. I was speaking one day to the group managing director of Flour Mill, of course, a company that's involved in production of food that we all eat. And then he says, we're discussing on how the economic model will improve, the agri sector. And the first question he told me is, Derek, do we have roads to the farm? Do we have infrastructure in the farms, in the villages, in the rural areas? I couldn't speak because these are facts that he was talking about. So you see, there are lots of issues affecting agriculture, but I know that gradually we shall try our best to de-risk and solve some of these problems. Other factors crippling agriculture are also the reasons people don't invest in it. The desire for quick return on investment and the security of investment also contribute. So some of the panelists have already mentioned some of this, but let's talk a little bit about some suggested solutions that the international community is looking at, to solve these problems in Nigeria. Now, we need to look towards adopting a no-till farming and other sustainable means of farming. We need to also increase access to financing and education for small-scale farmers. The use of mechanization and technology cannot be underestimated. We need to also develop rail and road infrastructure, distribute good quality inputs, and increase investment for irrigation. So these are solutions. Solutions also for livestock segment. We need to provide improvised feeds and investment in local feeds production, as well as support for imports. That has been mentioned earlier. We need to also provide farmers with skills and financial support to build proper working shelters for animals. We need to improve quality of local breeds and conduct research. For marine production, what do we need? We need to control water pollution. We need to improve fishing technology. We need to properly channel policies aimed at mitigating challenges. We need to also improve on manpower. Forestry. What can we do in forestry? It's important that we have a proper implementation of, forestry policies. We need to review the existing one that we have. There's also a proper need for good documentation processes to serve against illegal felling of trees. That has to be stopped in the country. And we need to introduce advanced technologies. I'm a fan of technology, and we need to begin to, infuse technology such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, and all sorts of technology we need. Now, Section 3, toward the $1 trillion African food market in Africa by 2030. Again, let's have a brief review of what happens, with regards to international contribution to agriculture. Now, Brazil's agricultural exports make up about 7.3% of the global agricultural trade. This is quite phenomenal. I mean, it's a whole lot. They are doing their best, and it's good. And let's have a look at the U.S. United States of America agricultural GDP reached the peak of $243 billion in Q3 of 2019. You see? So you can see some of the solutions that the USA have brought into their own country. They have established linkages between global food security, political stability, and economic prosperity. They have brought in a lot of food security strategies, and it's really working for them. What about China? China's agricultural sector has doubled in size in the last decade. What have been some of their strategies? Favorable agricultural policies has been key. So we need the right policies. Towards the end of this program, we'll also look at what the Nigerian government is doing with regards to policy development. Now, let's have a look at this using technology, Section 4, unlocking productivity through technology. Yes, some basic technologies that can be used in agriculture includes drone technology, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence. Yes, so we can use either we use one or we use a combination of these strategies to solve problems. Some countries are beginning to use some of these strategies, such as Ghana, Bitland, Ghana. Now, Ghana has been using Bitland. Bitland is a Ghanaian startup founded in 2015 and uses blockchain technology to boost the reliability of land records and settle land disputes within Ghana. So the people of Ghana did a thorough study and analysis of their own challenges and then came up with this solution. Then in South Africa too, they have also come up with the Microsoft FarmBeat. These are technology solutions to boost agriculture. In our own local environment, in Nigeria, these names are not unfamiliar. From Farm Crowdy and AgroMall. Like Farm Crowdy is quite known to be the first digital agricultural platform in Nigeria, and I also hear in the course of this conversation that some companies here are also doing crowdfunding similar to what, Farm Crowdy is doing. Let's now look at section 5, talking about unlocking productivity through finance. Yes, there are several ways by which you can fund agriculture. Emerging innovative strategies, asset finance, credit risk, leasing, new information systems, factoring, value chain finance. Agricultural technology companies are also becoming important financiers in the partnership, in this value chain. So these are some, global means by which we can fund agriculture. What are some of the challenges with regards to funding? One, limited collateral. But you may be wondering, in the case in which I gave an example, practical example, we had land which should have been optimum collateral. But still, there's still challenge of not able to get counterpart support from the local banks. Another challenge you have is poor infrastructure in rural areas, land use management, land ownership, low financial literacy rates, increasing climate variability, regulatory environment. Now, if you look at these 6 problems, please look at them critically. The truth is that if we critically analyze them, the truth is that we can actually surmount these problems. They're not problems that we cannot surmount in the Nigerian environment. What we essentially need is the in-depth and seriousness of stakeholders to reduce these challenges, and we can step forward in the business of agriculture in Nigeria. Now, intervention to overcome agriculture financing challenges and risk. The need for capacity development is very important. Customized loan products, like what we have also done, well, maybe perhaps towards the end of this, we'll show you some innovative solutions that we have brought in terms of funding agriculture. Some of the pillars for agricultural intervention is 1, value chain approach, strategic partnerships, technology, and capacity building. These are some of the few ways in which we have been able to identify. Investment opportunities across Nigeria's agribusiness value chain, integrate agriculture value chain to manufacturing, invest in agricultural infrastructure and mechanization, agriculture as a business. So we need to see agriculture as a business, not just as a hobby or a leisure or a family affair, but it must be seen as a business. And interestingly, the Bank of Agric, in terms of, the Africa Development Bank, has been focusing on agric, and we see the kind of good work they are doing. Investment opportunities in crop production value chain. We have quite a robust value chain when it comes to agriculture. We have the input producers, you have the farmers, you have the processors, you have the storage, industrial, manufacturing, trade, or direct consumers. So these are ways in which we can seek opportunities in the value chain of agriculture. There's also the business for livestock. It's there. There's business for fishery. It's there. There's business for forestry value chain, and so on and so forth. Policies are also important. We need policies. In Nigeria, we have had the Agricultural Transmission Agenda 2011 to 2015. We also had the Agricultural Promotion Policy 2016-2020. We had the ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020, which I actually contributed in some of the policies. We also have the CBN intervention programs, the Anchor Borrowers Program, listing of more items to forex restriction, Nigeria Incentive Basic Risk Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NISAL. It's possible that some of the persons in this audience have been able to get access to NISAL funding. So we will stop here, and let me now take you to some discussions on what the government is doing. Now, the government, within the COVID-19 crisis, came up with the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan. And the document I have here, right now I cannot share, maybe I can share later. If you look at page 39 and 40, some of us may have the document, apparently it's in the public domain. The topic says food for all, agriculture and food security. So what has been the solution that the government has brought? The government has said that it's going to allocate, it's going to help or create 5 million jobs by focusing on increasing land under cultivation, with state governments contributing 20,000 to 100,000 hectares of land for smallholder farmers. So this is one of the solutions the government has brought, and it believes that it will increase production, in partnership also with the private sector. Now, the estimated value that the government has brought for this project is about 634 billion to support agriculture in this post-COVID-19 era. I will now discuss with you what we have done as an institution, Global Advent Group, with regards to providing innovative ideas in funding agriculture. Now we continue to do a rethink. We continue to do what we call innovative product mix and approaches to fundraising, because we realize that people generally may not be able to have direct access to bank guarantees and other financial engineering solutions. So we came up with some solutions that are geared towards joint venture partnership. And I'll give you a philosophy of how it works. Now, we have, or for example, you have, a robust, size of land for agri development. So what we have tried to do is to connect our international players who have indicated interest to invest, within the Nigerian market. Now, there will be a thorough evaluation and criticality analysis to see, the contribution of both partners, set them up in some kind of united or in one company, and then see how those international players can send in their funds. So I will start with A, fundraising investment by type of funding. A, SME foreign direct investor fund. There's a possibility of an agreed player to tap into the SME foreign direct investor window. Calibrate products to fit into providing some kind of agri solutions to global SME industry players. There could be an opportunity to access about $500,000 per annum. You also have the second one, institutional foreign direct investor fund. If an agri farm is well positioned, some foreign direct investors are likely to assess that goodwill, and then also there's an opportunity to access $2 million per annum. We also have the investor cluster fund. So we can create an enterprise platform whereby international group of foreign direct investors will be publicized into our platform called Invest in Africa campaign, and then there will be some kind of creation of unity, and then there can be some kind of consortium partnership or multinational agri projects, and of course you can have an opportunity to access about $10 million per annum. We also have the Diaspora Investor Fund. Yes, our diaspora friends in the Nigerian and diaspora organization are also interested to invest in Nigeria. We can create strategic alliance with these serious-minded partners to access about $2 million, per annum. We have also looked at the local-based funding. Now, with a special fundraising cluster scheme, we have been able to create retail and corporate strategies to raise funding from local, private, and public sector institutions to fund, agribusiness. You can also have an opportunity to access $500,000 per annum. We also have one special one called the financial engineering funding. How does this work? It's a deployment of a mix of financial instruments such as bank guarantee, trading, international monetization processes to raise special funding for the agri projects. We all have the $1 trillion infrastructure capital, which takes care of this. Yes. Then we also have the social investment fund, whereby a pool of funds that allows banks, telcos, flour mills, breweries, tobacco, institutions that have, value chains in agriculture to invest and impact in the lives of communities where they operate by targeting agricultural resource production in those areas. There's also opportunity to access a $2 million per annum in that area. So these are some of the things that we thought we could share with you in the course of these conversations. I know it's possible that some people in the course of this conversation perhaps have questions, and we will take questions at the end. Thank you very much for listening.
Derek, that was breathtaking, but a very good analysis and data that you just took us through professionally as a professor you are. And one thing I just want to say here is that there are actually some funds, but the challenge we have is accessing these funds. A lot of us here are trying to find a way of accessing these funds. And I'm sure that by the time we end this program, you'll be able to give us an idea or insight on how these funds can be accessed. Thank you so much for that elaborate analysis on that report from PwC. Thank you so much, Mr. Derek Omole. Please, I just want to crave your indulgence to introduce Mr. Bashiru Martins. Mr. Bashiru Martins is going to represent the MD of Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, Mrs. Folashade Joseph. Mr. Bashiru Martins is a DGM in the same corporation. She's unavoidably absent today. But I'm sure Mr. Martins is going to present her papers, and then if you have questions, just ask him, because they are the insurance people. They are the people that are supposed to actually be, watch our backs and take care of us when things actually go wrong. I want to call up Mr. Bashiru Martins, one of the DGMs in Nigerian Insurance Corporation, to come up with Mrs. Folashade Joseph's presentation. He's actually going to talk on the agricultural programs government is supposed to put in place, or if there are, or they're supposed to put in place, or they have already put in place, to soften the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the agricultural value chain, to help people become more self-reliant, mitigate the impact of severe events, increase prosperity, ensure more sustainable food systems and food security, and create greater resilience in fragile states. And also, he's going to take us on how or what roles the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation is playing in the sector, and how will agricultural investors leverage on these roles to serve their purpose. Thank you, Mr. Bashiru Martins, and welcome to this conversation.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for giving the excuse for my managing director. In fact, he was actually supposed to take this. This was passed to me about 10 minutes ago, but we'll try our best. So much has been said about agriculture, its place in the economy. A lot has been said, yes, thank you, about agriculture and its prominent role in the economy. It's no gainsaying that it's the largest sector of the Nigerian economy, with GDP contributing about 40%. A multi-billion-dollar business that is capable of attracting huge foreign earnings. And research has shown that Nigeria has over 80 million hectares of arable land, the largest for West Africa. The preoccupation of government is to turn agric from its former status of development projects to that of viable business. In spite of the huge potentials of agriculture in Nigeria, agric promotion policy of the government has documented the agricultural production gaps that currently exist in the country, showing the investment of opportunities available in agriculture in Nigeria, as given in the next slide. From this slide, we will see that demand of agricultural items, different commodities, outweigh the supply for the various commodities. The flip side of this is that it still presents a lot of opportunity, investment opportunities in agriculture. For example, in tomato, the supply is about 0.8 million tons, whereas the demand is about 2.2, and on like that, except in the area of maize, that we are almost there, but we're not there because we know the demand will keep on increasing. How has government responded to this? It's been through multi-sectoral, cutting across ministries, various ministries, interministerial cooperation, collaborations, and working together to see that the entire value chain is really taken care of. Prominently, government has done so well in strengthening the various intervention programs like the commercial agri-credit schemes, CACs, the ongoing anchor borrowers programs, and the like. There have been a lot of improvements in financing improved seats, distribution of free inputs across the states of the Federation, revitalization of agricultural extension services, implementation of agri for food and job plans, and of course, the wet season planting for 2020 has really been done, and this has commenced. As stated earlier, the post-COVID-19 response of the government has been multi-sectoral. Yet, some of these initiatives are not mutually exclusive. The Recovery Fund covers all the production sectors, including agriculture. So the government has not only made provisions for the production value chain, but also the financial value chain. And this will further explain the anchor borrower program. What has been lacking over time is concentrating on a particular section of the agri line, mainly the production, leaving the other lines unattended to. But presently what we experience and what we hope to have more is financing for both the production and other chains that are cutting across manufacturing, processing, storage, and all the likes. And this is the area government is actually looking at. Despite all these efforts, this is where insurance comes in. The risk in agriculture is huge, and it serves as disincentive to would-be players in the realm of agriculture, be it as in primary production, growing the crops, raising the livestock, or post-harvest activities, storage, transit risk, all these are there. And of course, a simple natural hazards, drought, flood, pest infestation, diseases can wipe up productions within a short period. And this is where agricultural insurance comes in to play. The effort is to ensure that the farmer does his planting with confidence, that the processors support the farmers, play their own role with confidence, knowing that yes, anything could happen. Disaster is everywhere. It affects all businesses. There is no discrimination. Disaster does not discriminate. As it affects any other sector, it also affects agricultural sector. And when we're talking of agricultural sector, we are not talking of just the production, raising the livestock or developing the crops. It's cut across. Of course, to appreciate agriculture, it is to see, look at what agriculture stands for: food production, foreign exchange earning, raw materials for the industries, and so many other things. So it is not just planting, it affects so much. Hence, we need to give attention to this. And to give attention to this, to encourage the financial institutions to support the farmers, to encourage the farmers to adopt modern way of production, to enable other players to do their role. We need that insurance, a mechanism that provides compensation in the event of losses, that synchronize the system such that when the unexpected happens, the business still continues. The Nigerian Agri Insurance Corporation is the operating agency of the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Scheme. What is the purpose of the agricultural scheme? It is actually to protect the Nigerian farmers against risks of natural hazards by providing them with appropriate compensation when losses arise. The insurance scheme of the Nigerian Agri Insurance Corporation is voluntary for every farmer. It does not discriminate against any level of farmers. These small-scale farmers, middle-scale farmers, and multinational farmers, they are accommodated. However, where the farming process, the farming activities is financed through loans or any other forms of credit facilities, it is compulsory that such farmer must insure with the corporation. The whole idea is to say that people don't go back, run away from farming or other farming activities when losses arise. The scheme was established to protect Nigerian farmers against the risk of natural hazards, as we said. The objective of the Agri Insurance Scheme, which is being implemented by the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, first is to provide financial support to farmers where loss to crops or livestock arises from natural hazards. Two, to induce the provision of credit by financial institutions to farmers. Otherwise, because of the huge risk in agriculture by financial institutions, will remain reluctant to help the farmers with finances. But what insurance does is it guarantees that the farmers will be in business. In fact, the motto of the organization is plowing the farmer back to business. And where the farmer is in business, the loan recovery, the loan repayment is guaranteed and on and on like that. To promote agricultural production by encouraging farmers to adopt modern standards of doing things. If there are no insurance cover, if there are no such confidence, most farmers will remain doing businesses as they were doing, and they will be reluctant to adopt new ways of practicing things. And of course, to minimize the need for government ad hoc assistance when there are natural disasters. Key features of the scheme. The Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation is owned by the federal government, is the implementing agency of the federal government-owned insurance scheme, established some 30 years ago under an enabling act. Premium to some categories of crops and livestock under the scheme is subsidized by government. The farmer is only required to pay 50% of the premium, while the remaining 50% is shared between the federal government and states where the farm is located, at ratio 3:1. Farmer pays 50%, federal government pays 37.5%, and the state government pays 12.5%. As was said, it is compulsory for all credit finance projects, and it is available for all categories of farmers. Products are available across the value chain. When we talk of agriculture, we said it is not just growing the crops or raising the livestock. It's cut across the value chain. Some will say from the farm to the table, and some will say it's actually from the farm to the mart, because it cuts across various needs, industrial needs, food needs, and so many other things. Hence, we have categories of products, the ones we call subsidized crops policies. Subsidized crops policies relates to what we know as food crops: yam, maize, sorghum, and the like. And we have what we call the commercial crops. These are tree crops, perennial crops: mango, cocoa, and the like, perennial crops. They all play their own part in our food and industrial aspirations. So also, we have products for classified as subsidized livestock. These are livestock that directly aid food production: poultry, all forms of poultry, piggery, goats, cattle, fish, snails, and all the like. They come under subsidized livestock. And of course, we have the commercial livestock. The commercial livestock relates to those animals that serve other needs, apart from foods. Here we talk of dogs, horses, camel, that are being used for security purpose, for tilling the land, for farming activities, and so many other things. The difference between this commercial and the subsidized one is that those ones that directly aid food production, like yam, maize, sorghum, like poultry, pigs, and all this, the premium are subsidized, while the commercial crops attract commercial rates. And when we consider agriculture across the value chain, then it takes us to the realm of general insurance business, the conventional insurance market. The act that established the Agricultural Insurance Scheme and the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation are from day one recognized agric as business, as an enterprise. And of course, in agribusiness, there are other things involved. Farm workers are involved with bringing in their own risk into the system. Farm houses are involved. Farm vehicles, tractors are involved. Farmers are in contracts of supply and all these other things. And as long as they are in business, they are exposed to so many other risks, which may be found in the realm of the general insurance business. So, all these covers are available. These products, the general business, apart from their normal applications, have been adapted for the rest of the value chains in agriculture. We have there the sampling of the rates, but what we stated there at the last point is farmer pay only 50%. This has been addressed, while federal and state government pays the balance at ratio 3 to 1. We have the commercial agri that goes to the realm of tree plants, perennial crops, and the likes. They will have their rates. Commercial livestock, the rates here are very flexible. We have the combined agri produce and investments. What we do in NIC is that as we identify some risk factors in agriculture, or we identify some other participants in the realm of agriculture, we try to bring out products that will address the risk in that area. The one we have as a combined agri-produce and investment thing, it's the class of business that takes care of immediate post-harvest activities, storage risk. Some participants are involved in that one. That is their own business. They have to buy, take from the farm, store in their own place, and anything will happen there. It takes care of storage and transit risk. This is a product that can be used to take care of various things: fire, burglary, goods in transit, and the like. Other value chains, like it was mentioned, for the post-harvest activities, even pre-production activities, sometimes the activities of the participants will require some form of general business. Goods in transit, marine cargo for exportation or import of materials, fire and burglary, other perils, plant or risk. Farmers may in the farm, for example, in a poultry farm, sometimes they have feed mills, generators, tractors, so many equipments, just like in any other businesses, and there are insurances for them. Group personal accidents for workers, motor vehicles, performance guarantee because they are also in business. And of course, in a Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, we only need to know your business, the dynamics in your business, how you run your business, identify the risks in how you do your things, and try to bring in risk management measures, including customized insurance packages for us. In conclusion, government has put in place various programs for the benefits of the investors to enable them sustain production, maintain their resilience, and create more wealth. And of course, for the benefits of the nation in general. The Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation has been the farmers' partner over the years and will continue to back them up as they march through this trying period. One of the things we do is that we carry the message of insurance to the farmers across the states, where we address the farmers, trying to educate them on insurance, let them come up with their own concern about insurance, how they wish it should be done, and we educate them on what. We also engage commodity associations for them to understand the scope of insurance and be able to utilize them to the best of as a best package. We engage all stakeholders at various times towards this unique phenomenon that has really successfully attended to risk in agriculture over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martins, for this elaborate presentation on the activities of Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation. The last part of this presentation says that the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation is ready to partner with all farmers and anybody or everybody in the farming, in the agricultural industry, to make sure that we are insured. I know that during the pandemic, a lot of people lost their crops, livestock, and all that. And we were wondering, were they really insured? And you know, many people don't even know about all this. They don't know that they could insure their products for such a time like this. So this is also an eye-opener for those of us who are here, and we can also leverage on that and contact them, visit them, contact them, and know how you can get some form of security for your crops or your livestock. Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir Martins, for representing the Managing Director, Mrs. Folashade Joseph, this afternoon. we appreciate your presence and the ad hoc call up to come and take this position today. Thank you so much. I just want to mention also now, before we take the last person, want to mention that the following people actually sponsored and partnered with us in this program: Eve Green Industries and Investment Limited, Harvest Feed and Agro Processing Limited, SGL Farms, Nigeria Agricultural Insurance Corporation, Set Consulting and Copper Quail Global South Africa, and Inside Business Africa as our media partners. Thank you so much for those of us who are still sitting down and listening to this. I'm going to call on Mr. Wilson, Mr. Richard Wilson. I'm not sure if he's still around from South Africa. I'm going to call him up to introduce Shane Naik. Shane Naik. I'm sure I'm getting the pronunciation of that name correct, from South Africa. Is Mr. Wilson here? We're almost done. Is Mr. Wilson still around?
Hi, I'll be speaking. I think Mr. Wilson is done for now.
Okay. We're going to talk on the future of employment and emerging markets within the agribusiness. Future of employment and emerging markets within the agribusiness. Okay, you can go on.
Fantastic.
Shane.
Thank you so much for the platform. Greetings everyone from South Africa, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm just going to share my screen, if you can give me a moment. Okay.
Yes, we can see.
So basically, I'm so glad that there is an insurance scheme that does look after the farmers in Nigeria. It is delightful to actually know that there is such infrastructure. As Ori has mentioned, I'm going to be speaking on the future of employment and emerging markets within agribusiness. My name is Shane Naik, and I represent Copper Quail as well as Set Consulting as a specialized agriculture recruiter and business advisor. So firstly, what I'd like to speak about is, I think my discussion would tie in perfectly with Mr. Ademin's discussion. So firstly, what we've noticed is the government is a key stakeholder when it comes to looking at transformation and also changing business processes. Because I think at this time, during the COVID session, there are a lot of companies that are looking at transforming businesses as well as recovering from the impact of the virus. So looking closely at this, we see that the government is a stakeholder in facilitating processes and enabling funding for such transformations. So basically, an increase in farming income increases production and has a direct impact on reducing rural poverty, because that's what we want essentially, to get our people up, running and working, like many of you have mentioned. So to lead this transformation that we all have in mind, we're going to need three things. Basically, a good government structure, as well as core investments who are dedicated and committed, not only in the profitability of the company, but overall well-being. And finally, I think we can also look at functional policies that not only benefit the public sector, but the overall economy. The reverse can also be true. I mean, if we look at foreign aid, I think it reduces the government's power on handling business and agriculture. So that can be a bit of, a reverse when we're leading into transformation, as well as poor governance. I mean, in Africa, we all have the same issue. It's nothing foreign to us, So these are a few things that we've noticed. Moving on to contributing forces that drive agricultural transformation. These are a few forces that we've noticed across the lines, that agriculture, we're trying to look at land underutilization. Because like many of you have said, you do have the land, but we're also looking at labor forces that can work this land, to make it profitable for generations to come. Because, I mean, we're not looking at the next 5 years, 2 years. We're looking on sustainable development probably for the next 50 years and thereafter. So some of the contributing forces that I've listed over here, firstly, we're looking at labor productivity. So if we get a great labor force, I believe that production would directly be impacted. You know, we're looking at, I think there was a study that one of the speakers mentioned where there's a difference in demand and supply. I think if we get this part right, we can bridge that gap. And then moving on, improving infrastructure. I mean, if we look at increasing the availability of some of our agricultural goods, whether it's import, export, I think we could also look at a downfall of people as well as consumers using less manufactured goods, because we're going to look at more of the authentic agricultural goods which are available to a vast array of consumers. And then moving forward, what we've noticed in terms of employability is that there is a noticeable change in technology and the advancement of technology. So I believe that if we can increase skill sets and labor force, we can drive towards that change. And then just moving on onto that same topic, as a contributing force, we've also noticed that the development of the public sector. I mean, we entrusting the government with these funds, these skills, this land. There will be, you know, internal changes of processes in the government as well as positions in the government to drive this change. So government spending basically will be looked at funding local and expat employment, as well as, you know, to drive this infrastructure development. We're going to enhance the skill set of people who will be instrumental in infrastructure development. So this will be looking at the development and training of these professionals. I mean, especially if we're looking at the unemployment rate, not in Nigeria alone, but in Africa as a whole. I think we have amazing skills out there. It's just a matter of developing them and also getting the right funding, you know, and tools to enhance our people. I think that's the most important part. And also mentorship programs, because I mean, to develop a country, sometimes we might not have the correct means, but just to drive sustainability, I think mentorship programs are incredibly important. You know, we don't want somebody coming in as an expat for perhaps 5 years, staying inside and not transferring skills. So this is of utmost importance. So looking at the technological advancement when it comes into, you know, employment as a whole for Africa, we're looking at having people that are more technologically advanced. This will reduce costs, you know, will benefit a lot from cost savings, as well as increase our production, lower input costs, as well as facilitating and ushering a new generation of technology. I think many of you all know, if we look at one of the African countries, Ethiopia, as a success story within agricultural growth, we can look at probably the past 25 years. They have achieved a growth potential of about 6% within the agriculture sector. I think this is remarkable. And many countries in Africa are looking at Ethiopia because, I mean, 25 years ago, it was a whole new different story. And 50% of unemployment, if I could say, poverty, has been cut in half through these 25 years. I think this is the ideal for employment diversification and economical growth, because literally, if we can look after the seed of agriculture in Africa and Nigeria as well, I believe that it can blossom into an amazing, amazing opportunity, not for just the agri sector, but as well as diverse industries. So what would this mean for future employment within agribusiness? I think this is the question that we're looking at while farmers and look after their internal structures. So recruitment for the agribusiness in Africa, this is what we will be focusing on as well. And this is what we focus on as advisors. We want to develop a partnered relationship with not just the business owners, but farmers alike. There's a very big gap between having the knowledge and practical experience. So us partnering to marry those to each other, I think it's incredibly important. And also to advise business on employment matters, because I think too much we look at the profitability behind it, but there are many driving forces and key players as well as employees that drive the overall production. So strengthening the employee business structures that would guide against financial strains. I think also look at the COVID situation. No one would have guessed that, hey, you know what, a few months down the line, there are agribusinesses that are losing crops, losing investors. You know, I think if you get the employee business structure right, also looking at employees that have expert skills through headhunting for optimal production, we can look at fixing and, you know, avoiding such matters. So I think the most important thing is, yes, we can get the right professional, we can get the right skills, but ensuring culture fit is of utmost importance. I think if you look at personality profiling and tools such as that, we can look after the business's profitability in future by looking after employees' wellness, you know, because if we have an employee that cannot fully function in a business because of a misfit in culture, then I think it's not going to be a long-term investment for the company when employing an employee. Also considering temporary employment, we've seen this to be a trend in Africa and related continents as well. Temporary employment gives business owners, farmers alike, the control to look at their financial situation and invest in employment according to that. Because I think we can avoid a lot of matters such as retrenchments and so forth. Also, this gives a company sort of a financial relief, and it also ensures effective skills transference, because I think as African countries, we're so used to, you know, getting expat, they do the work, but then our countries are sort of, you know, actually at a disadvantage because someone else is doing the work, but we have so many unemployed, skilled professionals who have the ability, knowledge, understanding of carrying out these skills. So I think considering temporary employment, working on a grassroots level to develop and sustain businesses, I think that's the future. And on to my next point now, the future of agriculture employment in Africa. What we're noticing is industries are merging. So industries will be merging to drive economical development towards becoming technologically advanced. This means that there will be a higher demand for finance and IT specialized professionals. Because I mean, an IT or finance professional in any other industry is totally different from what we're dealing with in agriculture. So we've seen that to be a trend. And then following this, just as I've touched on before, shorter expat duration for skills transference. I think this is of utmost importance. And another trend that we can look at, there was a study done that by 2015, there will be about 2 billion people living in Africa, and agriculture, you know, there are lots of mouths, we need to feed them. So agriculture will be the most sought after industry, you know, in providing for these people. So there will be a lot of investment, but at the same time, I think businesses need to be very strategic as to how they develop, not for the next 5 years, 2 years, but for years to come, for sustainability. I think that's what we're looking at, you know, contributing to a business, partnering with the business, not for temporary production, but for sustainable production when we reach that peak. I think when we look at smallhold farmers, they contribute about 80% to the sub-Saharan food supply, which is massive. This is according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. So what the idea behind this is that this 80% of smallhold farmers are going to be funded into developing into more production-based farming, where they're looking at developing infrastructure as well as the workforce to supply within years to come. And yeah, this is about it. Thank you. I know I'm the last speaker, but thank you everybody for attending and for giving me this platform. I really do appreciate the warm welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shaine, for the opportunity to have you here, all the way from South Africa. We appreciate these insights you have given us this afternoon. I think your projection from your research that by 2050 we'll have 2 billion in our population in Africa, and agriculture will actually be central to sustaining lives in Africa and also creating sustainable employment and skill development. That projection, I just hope that I will live to see that come to pass 2050. but that's hope. That's hope for the generation after us, that by that time there will be sustainability through agriculture and employment, and skills development, and all that. She's spoken so much and has given us in Nigeria insight on how human development can add value to agriculture. Without the people, there will be no agriculture anyway. So it is important that we are giving enough training, that people are giving enough mentorship, infrastructures are provided for people to work with, skills are developed, and people are adequately trained for the purpose of agriculture. Thank you so much, Shaine. And I have a lot of people asking questions. Yes, you're going to get the documents at the end of the program, probably by next week. You'll get that, and I can see Mr. Martins is has put his email, his phone number there. Mr. Derek, because people are asking for the speaker's contact. Mr. Derek Omole has his on there too, because they are also asking for that. So that, well, this is actually the essence of having this conversation or this forum, so that people get to get information across to them, and they have they are also able to reach out to where they can get aids or help from. So thank you so much to all the speakers in the house. I just want to call Mr. Peter of Eve Green. Is Mr. Peter of Eve Green here? Mr. Peter of Eve Green, please. If he's here, please, can you unmute him for a minute? He's they are one of our sponsors. He's going to tell us a little bit of their product and all that. If he's not there, if he's not yet here, he's supposed to have been here, then we can just proceed. I want to call on my CEO, Mr. Odushola Stevenson. Mr. Kenneth, are you there?
I think the most important thing about this conversation is the fact that there is the potential in Africa, but the potential is not being utilized or being taken up by most of especially from government, because you see, in most of African countries, the government remains the biggest business, and therefore with support from government, people will be able to thrive. Where the government showed a lopsided attitude to every sector, the sector most times don't thrive. If you see what happened in the oil and gas industry, within the period that the federal government 10 years ago brought up the local content, you will have seen the billions of dollars that the Nigerian investors and professionals have taken up in terms of this industry. Farming like one of the speakers had just said, farming in Nigeria should be like a corporate organization, a corporate thing. That's why we're talking about corporatization of agriculture. Corporatization of agriculture is to ensure that people who are in the agribusiness are able to look at these things as a business. Most they call it smallholder farmers. Smallholder farmers should also be able to know how to do a bit of accounting and business plan. And I believe that the agencies of government, from the ministry to the Bank of Industry that give out loans, they need to do a lot to actually be able to let the farmers know, irrespective of the education. I can tell you that there are so many big-time farmers who are well educated, and there are also smallholder farmers who can afford to even employ graduates all over the places. So, but unfortunately, we have not been able to take advantage of the emerging opportunities, just like it's been said by Mr. Naik, Ms. Naik, that the opportunities are there. But what is important is for government to take action by actually supporting the agriculture business sector and actually allow people to do business the way they can do it. For instance, in Nigeria, it's important for us to, I'm just going to say this. That is a fundamental need for the Nigerian government to incentivize the agricultural sector. This needs to take shape at the form of a government policy that encourages private sector loans. Yes, we know that there are loans that are being given to some agricultural companies, but then how much have they been? I like to cite this example. I lived in the United States for quite a long time. In the US, lands are mandated to give, loan banks, most importantly, are mandated to give farmers at a negative percentage. In other words, this sort of forward-thinking policies can provide the necessary support for smallholder farmers in Nigeria. In 2015, for instance, like we have us in this industry, President Buhari launched the Anchor Borrowers Program, which was established by the CBN. All right, the program is meant to serve as a link between anchor companies and smallholder farmers, providing cash or kind inputs to boost production. So these particular incentives, for instance, today we need to be able to gauge the performance. Those in agribusiness which need to gauge the performance. Recently, there was this loan for smallholders farmers to actually help them, navigate the COVID-19. I can tell you, I'm not sure any farmers has received any of these loans. So this is where there's too much talk, but action needs to be. We need to walk the talk at the same time. You may have a good intention, but if people are not seeing it in practical terms, it's just going to be. We will be on our own. The much we can do, we will do. The much we cannot do, we just leave it for some other people to take advantage of it. The situation is not very bad anyway, like we said, as it were. It seems that the technology has the ability to save the day, and now we have seen, today we are having conferences with people joining all over the world, and we have seen that we need to embrace this particular platform, especially technology, to move forward. And for me, during the COVID-19 in Nigeria, when it was hot, we know that COVID-19 is going to be here for quite a long time. It's not going away tomorrow. But I can tell you that we have some clients that had very serious issues in terms of education, security, food security, and people who were moving, produce from one end of the country to the other to allow people to have as to food. They were being disrupted along the road, and many of them lost so much in terms of man hours and also money. But well, what can they do? I got a call from one of the big clients here from UK now, who actually went to South Africa trying to find a way back to Nigeria. As far as they are concerned, they have a massive investment in Nigeria at 3 different locations. But the disruption at that time actually affected their production so very, very massively. But today, they want to get back on their feet. But one good thing that Nigerian government, which I hope that they will be able to follow through, is the fact that they have asked Bank of Industry to give a moratorium. In other words, give about 2 or 3 months moratorium for people who are actually owing them before they start paying again. I hope they will follow through with some of these things, because sometimes it's easy to give policies, and the other thing is about implementation, and which is one of the major challenge in Nigeria. And I hope that we can get out this. I must thank all our sponsors and all the partners that we've had on this conversation. It's been an awesome, for me, a very effective thing, for me. We can no longer rely on revenues from oil alone, especially in Nigeria. I know that so many African countries are doing well in agriculture, South Africa, Tanzania, and Morocco. However, oil is going to go one day, but we'll continue to eat. So food security is important. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate this conversation. And while we listen to the roundup, the wrap up from us, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this short word to us. Before I call on the speakers to just round up with one or two words, I want to still invite Mr. Chidubem Peter. Mr. Chidubem Peter, you please unmute Mr. Chidubem Peter. He's from Eve Green Investments. And the Eve Green Industries and Investments is one of our sponsors. I just want to give him the opportunity for 1 minute to just give us a highlight on their products, please. Mr. Chidubem, 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you, everyone. It's been an interesting section. So I don't know if you're hearing me, please.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So Eve Green Industries and Investment Limited, it's an agro production and processing company. We are basically into processing of, we operate within the cassava value chain, process cassava into gari, process cassava into odorless fufu flour, process cassava into high quality cassava flour. We call it HPCF. And Eve Green equally there's a product we call a novel product from Eve Green. We call it Eve Green Garipita. It's a flour, it's an instant swallow that is actually making waves in town today that I would recommend everyone to take a hold of it and take a taste of it and take a taste of the swallow. So that's Eve Green. So it's been wonderful, to have been in this section, and it's wonderful equally partnering with Aqua Farms on occasions like this. We appreciate you a lot, and we appreciate all the panelists, everyone present here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Peter Chidubem. I'm calling on Mr. Shehu Adegoke, please, to give us a parting word. Mr. Shehu Adegoke.
So yeah, I said it's been very interesting talking with people, and quite an eye-opener for a lot of statistics, especially because that's most especially what we work with. And I wish everybody the best. SGL Farms is basically just trying to farmers, even though they might not be directly coming to the farm, we have our farms open, so anytime anybody wants to come, they can always, check us out on our website, sglfarms.com. You have all the information we have there, and we look forward to, having you people on board as soon as possible. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Shehu, for coming and for the information we have. Please, you can always, you get all the information about them in due course. We'll pass that across to everybody that is in this meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Uche Ajulu, you raising your hand for something? Uche Ajulu? Please, can you unmute Uche Ajulu? Uche Ajulu.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, Uche Ajulu.
Thank you. I am participating from New York, and I want to.
From New York.
Yes, I want to make a comment. I like this session, and I thank you. But there's something we are missing in Nigeria. I think I want to add to the regulatory policy environment panelists that number one is that Nigeria has failed to realize that God is electricity and that without power, they cannot do anything in the agricultural sector. So I am wondering whether these panelists and these policymakers can deregulate the power sector so that large-scale and able subsistence farmers can provide their own electricity without the hindrance of the electricity regulators in Nigeria. Brazil has had a very, very successful experiment, and they started this survey with the University of Ife, whereby in the 70s, the Food and Agricultural Organization did a water survey of Nigeria, and University of Ife was supposed to do it for Africa and Nigeria, and they did it in Brazil, and they found that Brazil had 12,000 streams, and those 12,000 streams built 8 dams, which cost 18 months to build. They are cheap, and they can be built in 18 months. And those 8 dams were able to provide electricity at the rural areas. And President Lula of Brazil, who championed this program, has been the only head of state that won the World Bank Development Prize because he was able to induce urban-rural migration. People were leaving the urban areas to go back to the rural areas because there was sustainable, continuous electricity provided by these 8 dams. And around the 8 dams sprang up village towns. And around the village towns sprang up shrimp farming, rabbit farming, the massive ethanol program, and Brazil had an agricultural takeoff. So why is our government not allowing us to build little earth dams and we be responsible for our own electricity? I would like this webinar to recommend people to a website called Turbulent Hydro that allows you to build your own electricity 1 to 2 megawatts using huge concrete, you know, those round concrete things that you use to build culverts. I don't know the name. The huge concrete rings that you use to build culverts. When you put them in the middle of running water and you put something like a ceiling fan motor, it rotates and it generates electricity. That was the baseline of Brazil's success and 8 dams. And you can do it in 18 months. So that the Nigerian farmer can be saved and from the stranglehold of government regulation. That is what I see as the baseline of what is holding back the ability of Nigeria to feed itself. Thank you.
That contribution, and we are going to take it up, ma'am. We are going to take it up. We promise we'll take this up and see how a policy will be put in place to deregulate the power sector. And it's very interesting to hear that you can actually generate light, electricity from the ring she mentioned with water and all that, and fan and all that. I'm happy that people from the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Company, they are here. Also, other agricultural government agricultural bodies are also here. And Derek Omole is here. I'm sure he's taking note of that because he's part of those people that are formulating some policies for the government. So Derek, please take note in particular, and I'll be on top of it. I'll be on top of it to make sure that you include it in part of the things we are doing for the government. Thank you so much, Mrs. Uche Ajilu from New York. Thank you. So I am going to call on Mr. Goke Adeyemi. I don't know if Mr. Goke is still around. Mr. Goke, are you still around? Adeyemi, Mr. Goke Adeyemi of Harvest. Is he still around? Can you unmute him? Okay, while we are waiting for him, please, Mr. Derek. Mr. Derek, are you still around? Yes, you're still around. Please unmute Mr. Derek, please.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think it has been quite a good time having this meeting and video conferencing. Just a few words. First, for all operators in the value chain of agriculture, please do not give up. Nigeria needs you. We also encourage everyone here and others to always patronize and buy made in Nigeria agri products, please. Number two is that the EIT transformation model that we have developed understands the importance of power to accelerate macroeconomic development. And so the madam speaking from New York, we sincerely appreciate that wonderful idea. I assure you that it will be presented to the government from our own little window, and we'll try our best to begin to implement those solutions at rural levels. In fact, the model that we have developed fights against massive rural to urban migration. Seriously, it's one of the reforms that is seriously in that model. So maybe we can find a way to keep in touch because we're taking ideas from all over the world. Nigeria needs innovation. Nigeria needs change. Change will not happen in our dreams. Change will happen via collective effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Derek Omole, for that parting word. I'm inviting Mr. Bashir Martins. Mr. Bashir Martins from Nigeria Agricultural Insurance Corporation. Please, can you unmute Mr. Bashir Martins?
I want to thank the organizers for this educative forum. We have gained some things from these discussions, which I believe will further enhance our product development and services to the agricultural sector. My appeal to the agribusiness that all participants should appreciate agriculture in any particular level they play it as a business. And if it's a business, it needs sustenance. Part of the sustainability mechanism is insurance. The little salt missing in a pot of soup could make a mess of all the other inputs. We implore all participants to take insurance as part of necessary inputs into their business because it ensures the sustainability of the business. When you do your business with Nigerian Agri Insurance, you are not only insuring for payment of compensation in the event of loss, you will also be benefiting from lots of risk management services that prevent the losses, that increased production. From the experience of the corporation that parades array of professionals in all fields of agriculture, insurance, and risk management, we deploy all this experience to our customers when they do businesses with us. We just want you, just let us know what you do, and we will advise you on how to protect your businesses and get the best possible output. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir Martins. The sustain your agricultural business, please go get your insurance from the Nigeria Insurance Corporation, please, to sustain your agribusiness. Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir Martins, for representing the Managing Director and CEO of Nigeria Insurance Corporation. And I want to thank everybody who attended this meeting today. I know that a lot of us, it's been an eye-opener for us because there were a lot of things that we never knew we could achieve. And in terms of investment, in terms of insurance, security, and all that. And today we've heard it. In terms of other improvements, we could also provide for us to function properly in this sector. Once again, I'm thanking also our sponsors, our partners, our speakers from all over the world for this seminar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eve Green, Industries and Investment Limited. I thank you also, Harvest Feed and Agro Processing Limited. I thank SGL Farms. I also thank Nigeria Agricultural Insurance Corporation. I thank Set Corporate Consulting and Copper Quail Global South Africa, and also our media partner Inside Business. Thank you so much, and we will be having, this is just the beginning of this series, Agribusiness series. We'll be having a lot of conferences online for now, and then I hope that by the time we call on you next time, you will also oblige us to be part of us. Thank you so much, and I want to also say that Nataka Davis Consulting is also involved in all human resources activities. So you can also engage us, even for your business development. You can also engage us. Thank you so much. And I didn't get to hear from Ife Adeniyi. I thought she's gone. Ife Adeniyi. Ife Adeniyi, are you still around?
I'm here.
Okay, please, can you give us your parting word? You just disappeared and reappeared, okay? Can you give us your parting word before we say
So,
the
I really enjoyed all the presentations. I'm happy that I was able to participate in it. Definitely, with more young people, with what we have on ground and more young people getting involved, there is hope for us. There is hope in the agricultural sector. And I also hope that most of what we have heard today will actually implement them, because hearing is one thing, then implementing is another thing. So yes, let's say cheers to the future of the agricultural industry, and that's all I have to say for now.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you next time.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.